I call the meeting to order. I apologize to members of the community and others that are here for having to wait. It's been a long night so far, and it may be longer. I'd like to call on Matthew Plummer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing afterward for a moment of silence.
All right. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is with great sadness that we announce the death of a former district employee. Sharon Heyman, who was known as Sherry by her family and friends, passed away on March 1st after a long battle with cancer. Sherry, a former teacher, retired from the district in 2002 after 13 years of service as a classified employee. She spent her career with the Grossmont District as an office assistant at West Hills High School. She is survived by her husband Steve, her son Wade, her daughter Wendy, 4 grandchildren, and her mother. Sherry's kind and gentle spirit will be greatly missed by all who knew her. Please join us for a moment of silence to remember Sharon Heyman. Thank you. Please be seated. Matthew Plummer, could you please read for us the reading of the Grossmont Union High School District Vision Statement?
Yes, I can. The Grossmont Union High School District is dedicated to providing a safe and collaborative learning environment which supports academic achievement and social development for all students. The Grossmont District operates on the premise that success for every student is dependent upon all groups in the organization, including teachers, administrators, parents, staff, students, and the community working together to support all students in their development as lifelong learners, thinkers, and successful contributors to the community.
Thank you. Moving on to awards and recognitions. We're going to recognize the fourth quarter Outstanding Classified Employee for 2009-2010, Yolanda Gillian, Campus Utility Worker at El Capitan High School. I call on Associate Administrator Steve Sonich to introduce this recognition.
Yes, we're very pleased to make this award tonight, and Vice Principal Paul Hedberg at El Capitan will provide the introductions.
On behalf of the El Capitan staff and administration, it gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you here tonight. Thanks for so much support turning out to recognize our classified employee. I think the best way that I can honor Yolanda is to share with you some of the comments that some of her fellow employees have stated. And I would just say from my heart that in my 24 or 5 years in the district, she is probably the brightest star that I've ever come across. Yolanda is the epitome of a model employee. She will do virtually anything for anyone in need. She is a conscientious and hard worker. She is always respectful to everyone. She takes initiative to improve our school and workplace. She always has a positive attitude, always smiling. She frequently goes beyond the call of duty. She is service-oriented and develops a great rapport with students, staff, and the community. She may have very little, but what she has, she will share her very little when you need it. She assists with Spanish translation and helps tremendously in that area. Yolanda has a very comprehensive knowledge of the facility and is capable of making valuable contributions to solving problems. Although she is fluent in both English and Spanish, she doesn't know the word no in either language. She covers both other positions and assists her peers. Yolanda always has a smile on her face and never says no to a request for assistance and lets me practice my Spanish. She has the best work ethic of anyone I know. Half the time, she anticipates what I need before I ask. For these and many other reasons, it gives us great pleasure to award Yolanda the Classified Employee of the Quarter.
Thank you for all you guys to be here, support me, my daughter Destiny, and all you guys, each one of you guys. And I really appreciate for being recognized for something that I really like to do. And almost for 12 years working at the district with you guys, and it's something that I really like to do. And it's really a pleasure to work with all you guys. I don't know what to say. I got it right if I forgot it. Thank
you. Yolanda Gillian, congratulations on being selected as the fourth quarter Outstanding Classified Employee of 2009-2010. You began your career with Grossmont District in July 1998 as a custodial substitute. In November 1998, you were hired into a permanent position as custodian at El Capitan High School, and in October 2005, you were promoted to campus utility worker, the position that you hold today. Throughout your 12-year career with the Grossmont Union High School District, you've remained a valued staff member of El Capitan. Your coworkers find you to be a shining star, always willing to lend a helping hand. In addition to your performing your regular assigned duties and responsibilities, you consistently go above and beyond what is expected to keep the school operating efficiently and effectively. It is with great pleasure that I join members of the governing board in saluting you for your outstanding service to the Grossmont Union High School District and the student and faculty of El Capitan High School. Thank you. We move on to receiving communication from the public. Comments from the public on agenda items will be heard for 30 minutes or, if necessary, at the conclusion of the business meeting. Members of the public who wish to speak to an item on or not on the agenda must file a speaker card indicating name and agenda item or subject to be addressed and present the card to Tracy McDonald in the front row, and she will deliver them to the board secretary. If a member of the public wishes to speak to an item at the time the item comes up for action, please indicate that on the card and you will be given an opportunity to speak prior to the action being taken. Speakers will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to give public comments. A person speaking may not exceed a total of 3 minutes on all items. Speakers will see a green light displayed on the podium for the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds. A yellow light will be displayed for the final 30 seconds, and a red light and audible beep will let you know when your 3 minutes are up. In order to be fair to everyone in the audience who wishes to speak, speakers will not be permitted to go beyond the allotted time. As I stated earlier, members of the public who wish to speak to an item also have the option of waiting to speak until just prior to the item coming up in the course of the meeting. 7 on or 7 till? Okay, we have a total of 7 on agenda and 3 off agenda items. If they were all exactly 3 minutes, that would be a total of 30. So with the board's indulgence, I would like to take all 10 cards immediately. Okay? We will begin with George Holtz, who will be followed by Bridget Fitch and Fran Zumwalt. George Holtz. And Bridget Fitch and Fran Zumwalt, I just give you your names in advance so that you can be ready, and I don't have to call every name and wait. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you for allowing me to speak, and I'd also like to thank the board members and of Grossmont and of Helix for all the hard work that you do looking after our children and for their education, also the administrators and the teachers. However, to be honest, I'm probably not going to make anyone happy here. I am deeply disappointed in the actions of the Grossmont Unified High School District Board and its members, and also the Helix Charter High School Board and its members. I do not believe that we should be at this point of the juncture where you're having a hearing to pull a charter. I believe the Grossmont Unified High School District Board should acknowledge the good work of Helix High School, say that you're not going to pull its charter, and work together as reasonable, rational adults to find out what happened and move forward and improve it. That's what I think. I can understand how the Helix High School Charter Board, I'm getting all messed up, would not trust your board after watching news conferences from some of your members and also reading some of the stuff on your website. I'd be reluctant to trust you as well. You need to build trust so that you can both work together for the safety of our children, which you both express you want to do. To the Helix Board, I am really surprised at the letter that was sent to Grossmont back in January. Well, we followed the policies and the law. Maybe it did. I think a lawyer wrote it. But I'm really deeply kind of disturbed about that also. As a parent, I would not want a teacher or an administrator to allow my child to use their computer with their knowledge to buy a bus ticket out of state or to go to a dating site, buy pornography, whatever it is they're doing. That is not right. And I would expect a full investigation. I do investigations on employee misconduct as a living. And Dr. Smith, I'm sorry, your investigation was kind of lacking. You don't talk to just the two administrators and let him work. You talk to the parents, you talk to the family members, you talk to social workers, you look in his computer to see what else he's been doing, and you put him out for not only the children's safety, but his own safety as well, until you fully investigate it. You did not do that. I would expect reasonable, rational adults, I mean, we've got a couple doctors here, right, to be able to sit down and work this out without dragging it through the public opinion. You're embarrassing our children. You're embarrassing our district. As a band parent, I've had to take my kid, and a lot of us have done this, we've driven them in our own cars so that they can march in parades that represent our school, our district, our town. I've done it with the water polo team. I've done it with Winter Guard, Drumline, all of them. We do that with our own money. You have enough money to pay for an attorney, and you guys have enough money to pay for an attorney to act this out in court, but not enough money to pay for a bus? That's sad. That's despicable. That's wrong. I hope that somebody from this board will stand up tonight and say, we are not going to go through this hearing. We support the Helix Charter High School, and we are going to work with you as reasonable, rational adults and move this forward. And the same thing, I hope that you people pull whatever lawsuits you're doing and say that you support this board in helping you out as well. I expect no less. Thank you.
Bridget Fitch, who will be followed by Fran Zumwalt and Chris Swanson. Bridget Fitch.
Hello. First, I'd like to thank Jim Kelly and for answering my letter, and I was really happy about that. And I realized when I sent my letter, I also missed a few things. One thing I brought up were issues that were resolved by Helix that had happened to me. First of all, at one point in time, I had been sexually harassed at my school, and within a day, most people in the school in power knew about it and had found the person and had told him not to come back because he had been wandering around. And I feel that they resolve things very well, and I feel safe at Helix. And I believe that Helix is just trying to do the right thing, and I also I run the school's GSA basically. I'm the president of Gay Straight Alliance, and I've had problems there too, and those problems have been resolved very quickly as well. I've heard it being said that it's that the reaction time was not quick enough, but from what I've seen, they've always reacted very quickly to problems involving the students, and they've always been out for what's my best interest and what all the other students' best interests are. they've always tried to help us. And I believe that Helix is very good at helping the students, and I feel I'm always safe there. And I really love Helix, and I wish it to stay a charter because I feel that's the way I can get the best education I can. I feel when I leave next year, I'll have a great education. I'll be able to go to a great school that I want to go to. I won't have to, sit around and stay like at a community college. I'll be able to get into a university. And I know I've gotten a good education from Helix, but what I'm worried about are the people after me, the freshmen and the sophomores and the next, all of the people after me. That will they get as good of an education if Helix has its charter revoked? I'm worried about them more than I am myself. And I believe we just need to talk this out. We need to sit down, be adults, man up, and work this out. That's all I really want. Everyone to just sit down, say the truth, and that's it. I just want people to work together and be able to say what they truly feel and just get the issue over with. This has gone on long enough. And I think I love Helix as a charter school. I want it to stay a charter school, and I want us to be able to work with the Grossmont Union High School District as a charter school. I want us to get along, and that's about it.
Thank you very much. As the elected president of the 1,000-member Grossmont Education Association, I am asking you, the Grossmont School Board, to stop and refocus your attention onto the 1,000 educators directly impacted by Superintendent Collins' decision to declare contract negotiations at impasse. Superintendent Collins recently wrote, despite nearly 50 negotiation sessions with GEA, no agreement has been reached. In addition, he said GEA had made no viable counteroffer to the district's proposal. Here is the truth. GEA met with the district 33 times to bargain the contract for 2009-2010. The district introduced a compensation proposal for 2010-2011 at noon on February 2nd. That afternoon, GEA asked many questions about the district's proposal, which the district negotiators said would be answered at the next bargaining session. Before being able to meet again, district officials notified GEA by phone and in a February 17th letter that they had petitioned the Public Employee Relations Board for a declaration of impasse. Clearly, the letter sent to PERB, dated February 17th, revealed the district's intent to seek impasse before GEA could have provided a counteroffer at the next bargaining session on February 19th. Last September, the superintendent told GEA the Grossmont district was in better financial shape than most districts in the state of California. Yet Bob Collins wants 1,000 Grossmont educators to accept the most extreme and punitive contract proposal in the county. If San Diego City and Sweetwater, despite spending down their reserves, reached fair and reasonable agreements with their teachers, surely a similar settlement can be found for Grossmont and GEA. Clearly, there are statewide budget concerns. Just as clearly, the Grossmont district is in a position to offer GEA a proposal better than any other county-wide, and one that values educators. Instead, Bob Collins believes coercive and manipulative tactics will intimidate teachers, counselors, school psychologists, and speech pathologists. To exploit the economic climate in the state and to continue funding reserves on the backs of teachers will hurt the Grossmont district and its students, and it is all unnecessary. I have a bit more. I'll send you the rest. Thank you.
Barbara Lowe, who will be followed by Sal Casimasima, and Lisa, I believe it's Koramus, or is it Pam Howard? I'm not sure. There's two people listed there. I'm sorry, Barbara Lowe. Thank you.
Good evening. An exception to Board Policy 7310 for naming a school. Why is the proposed 12th high school always the exception? First, a district enrollment trigger was attached to the bond language, and now some want to avoid the process already in place to name the high school. As a Grossmont community, many of us worked together recently to pass Prop U, and were applauded by this board for coming together to get things moving. Now it is proposed that the policy to name a Grossmont school after a geographical area and work with a committee named by the superintendent to solicit input into an appropriate name be set aside. Why does the policy need to be set aside? I don't care if you name it Roosevelt, Hoover, Lincoln, or Ford. It is the point that you are putting a name out there first, rather than solicit ideas from the students, community, tribes, and others first. Why is it necessary to vote on a name and then have a hearing? Let's hear all the choices first. You are doing this backwards. If the top vote getter is Ronald Reagan High, then set the policy aside after the input by the stakeholders. Doing it ahead of time is like stacking the deck. Get the input, then look to set it aside if it needs to be. If it does, then go ahead, set it aside, vote on that. What happened to transparency? And as I heard tonight already, the word trust. All of this may be unimportant in the end, since more and more money is being taken away from the project. Even with Prop U, which helped finish the remodeling for all the other schools, the new high school has less money than it did under Prop H. Will the high school end up on the cutting room floor again? The will of the people has passed 2 bonds. When will you listen?
Sal Katsumasima, who will be followed by Lisa Coromis.
Sal Katsumasima. I'm a member of the Alpine High School Design Team. Tonight, the board will consider naming the new high school Ronald Reagan High School, after one of our nation's great presidents. Unfortunately, I do not believe that Ronald Reagan, were he alive today, would want his name associated with this school as it is currently configured. Here's why. After Prop H was passed, funding for the Alpine High School was set at $71.3 million. There was a funding distribution form that was set out at that time specifying the exact sum. Here it is. That amount would now be, in today's dollars, 2010 dollars, $81 million. Instead, without explanation, over $20 million has been chopped from the school, giving us a bare-bones construction budget. This cut was made despite added funds from Prop U and despite the fact that this board separately set aside $20 million for site acquisition. In addition, we were told, folks in Alpine and Blossom Valley, that our kids would attend this school, them being approximately 1,200 to 1,400 students. Instead, we have a school that will be so small it will barely accommodate 60% of that student population, and in fact be not even large enough to accommodate all of the Alpine kids who are currently attending Alpine elementary schools. President Reagan was a man of his word and would not consider the retroactive underfunding of the new school as keeping your word. Second, he loved sports. He started out as a sports announcer, and he starred in the Newt Rockne film in the role of George Gipp. This new school won't have any team fields, and our students would once again have to travel all the way down to Granite Hills or Steel Canyon or other schools to participate in team sports, defeating one of the very primary reasons we established putting the school out in Alpine in the first place. The Gipper would not approve of that. Third, Reagan was a strong supporter of science and technology and would be delighted to know the citizens of Alpine, in their survey, place science and math as their top priority for this school. But he'd be disappointed to know that Alpine High will not get a science lab, for which we would create a STEM program. I'll never forget his speech at the Berlin Wall, in which he said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." So I'm asking the Grossmont board to do the same thing. Take a stand and tear down the remaining wall to building a first-class high school. If you give us that money and that funding, I can assure you the design team will build an exemplary high school of which Ronald Reagan would proudly have his name associated with. Thank you very much.
Lisa Cormus and Pam Howard, who will be followed by Melinda Palermo and Terry Lindman.
Hi, my name is Lisa Grimes. I'm the librarian at El Capitan High School. And I was, I think, a little bit out of order. I apologize for that. We're celebrating National Library Month, and I wanted to thank the board members for helping us in that. And as I speak for myself and the other librarians in the Grossmont District, I also wanted to present some paperwork. I don't know how to pass it out. Who should? Okay, I'm sorry.
Come on up.
We're very proud to announce the new Virtual Library Learning Commons, as we call it, the VLLC. And we're super excited to be able to share this with you at a later time, where we can work with you one-on-one and show you some of the wonderful resources that we put together for our students. We spent most of the first semester working on this in collaboration, and we have recently announced it this beginning of second semester for our students and for our parents and staff as well, so that we can share the resources and even college and career information with our students and have it come out in an easy-to-use, manageable format that they aren't afraid to get into. And thank you very much.
Melinda Palermo, who will be followed by Terry Lindman, who will be followed by George Palermo.
Good evening, members of the Governing Board, Superintendent Collins, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Melinda Palermo. I'm here again this evening on the topic of the CST grade incentives. On February 10th, we requested information from the district regarding CST grade incentives. Included in this request was the following: how many students' grades have been changed upwards by individual school sites within the Grossmont district? The district response was, quote, because there has been no uniform policy implementation of a CST incentive program involving adjustments to student grades, it is currently not possible to respond to this question. Valhalla's principal provided us with the results of the program for the last semester, 294 grades changing. If she can generate the information, why can't other principals do the same? All you have to do is ask. Parents want to know what effect the CST grade incentives or grade bumps have on the academic merit of each student, each site, and Grossmont Union High School District as a whole. Is it hundreds of grades that are changed? Is it thousands? It would be grossly irresponsible of the board and the district to allow CST grade bumps, grade inflation, without knowing the impact of the program, since these types of programs are definitely frowned upon by the California Department of Education, as well as many teachers and colleges. At the January board meeting, the board directed the superintendent and staff to bring this issue back for further review and discussion. When will this happen? How is discussion going to be possible if nobody knows the impact of the program? Where's the transparency? It would seem to me that you would want to know the facts. As a parent of a child in this district, I sure want to know. We have always been great supporters of teachers and our children's education. Teachers aren't even aware, some of them, of how far-reaching these policies are within the district. If you really stand behind what you're allowing to happen, then please go public with it. This practice of CST grade inflation does absolutely nothing good for our students and everything negative to our district's reputation. Please address this issue. Thank you.
Terry Lindman, who will be followed by George Palermo.
Hi, thank you for hearing me again. I've stood before you almost every month now since last spring. I am Terry Lindman. I'm a professional educator. I work at San Diego State as a teacher educator and an instructional designer. So I kind of come to this with a little, like I said to you before, I know the game here. I come tonight with you to you once again to say, please stop this CST grade incentive nonsense. Each time I come with a new topic du jour, and tonight's is we're going to take a look or a quick tour on how tests are scored and how classrooms are scored. So norm referenced and criteria-based testing. You've heard this before. Here's yet another argument why I think this is a bad idea to use a grades inflation and incentive from CSTs and change classroom grades. So you know CST scores are norm referenced. The results for each student are based on comparisons with other students in the state. So what we end up with is a percentile ranking, a forced ranking, 1 to 100. And that's how you get your scores. We know this. You get your levels that are popped in there. They're arbitrary cutoffs to determine what these levels are based on the students. Now, when you go into a classroom, students take a test. They get an 80% or -5 or however the teacher wants to do it. It's not based on what the other students in their class got. It's based on whether they know the knowledge, whether they got the content. So I'm standing here telling you, how can we use the CST scores, which are percentile ranked, how my child compared with somebody else in Fresno, and give them a grade bump in their class? How do those even compare? It's like apples and oranges and tossing in bananas for good measure. It doesn't make any sense to me. My own daughter has come home now with 2 change of syllabus letters that are exactly the same, quoting ed code and the correct verbiage provided by the principal to those 2 teachers in 2 different departments, exact same letters. And each time she comes home in tears, Mom, it's another test. The only way I can get extra credit is another test. Okay, that's wrong. Our kids perceive it as cheating. The kids that have had their grades changed are embarrassed by it. They go, don't tell anyone. They changed my grade. My daughter asked, what if I don't want to be involved with it? The teacher said, too bad. If you get a better grade, I'll change your grade anyway. She goes, I don't want to be involved. So what am I going to do? I'm going to check my child out of the CST scores. I'm going to say, no, we won't participate. And I'll take every other parent I can with me because it's wrong what you're doing. So I urge you, stop it. You have the power to do it. Say enough. Okay, thank you for hearing me again.
George Palermo.
Yes, good evening, President Shields, members of the board, Superintendent Collins, ladies and gentlemen. My name is George Palermo. I live in El Cajon. I have a daughter at Valhalla High. I'm here this evening to ask you again if you would seriously consider asking the schools to disclose their grade incentive policy as it relates to CST. I think all the schools should put it on their website. I think they should communicate it in 1 or more of their monthly letters to the parents to explain what their policy is. I want to follow up on my wife's comment about the principal at Valhalla kind enough to disclose the results of last semester's grade incentive program. They had 290 letter grade changes. 43% of those went from B's to A's, the balance mostly C's to B's. And I think that's significant. It's wonderful that she disclosed it, and I think you should obtain comparable information from other schools, given they have a program where they change grades so we can all evaluate exactly the impact on the program. I think other schools would be interested to know what their sister schools are doing. I know there are parents who don't know there's a grade incentive program. I've talked to a few teachers this evening that weren't aware of the fact that some schools may or may not have a grade incentive program. So I think the more we put it out there, the better information we have, and collectively, if we get a lot of input from students, teachers, administrators, the district, maybe we can end up with something that makes a lot more sense. Thanks very much.
Board members, we will be providing you with information tomorrow regarding the grade incentive programs. We will be meeting with principals on the 17th regarding that. And we'll be sure that that information is also on our website as to both district policy, ed code, etc., as it applies to grade incentive policies. Extra credit, really, is what you're looking at.
Thank you. Moving on to item 6, procedural. Public report of action taken in closed session in accordance with Government Code 54957.1 and 54957.9. I call upon Member Schreiber to report on closed session.
Thank you. Student matters pursuant to Education Code Sections 49073-49079. In closed session, the Governing Board reviewed the findings of fact, the conclusion of law, and any written objection to the same which were presented by staff on student matters. As a result, I recommend the following action. Expulsions, I move to approve the expulsions in case number 1.
Second.
Discussion? Please vote.
Suspended expulsions, I move to approve the suspended expulsion in case number 5.
Second.
Discussion? Please vote.
Stipulated suspended expulsions, I move to approve the stipulated suspended expulsions in cases number 67 through number 86.
Discussion? Please vote.
Revoke expulsions, I move to revoke expulsions in case number 10 through 12.
Second.
Discussion? Please vote.
Staff complaint in closed session on March 11th, 2010, or 2010. The governing board, 2010. The governing board considered a staff complaint regarding employee number 245-743 and directed the superintendent to prepare a response affirming the superintendent's decision in accordance with its findings. On staff complaint, Part 2, in closed session on March 11th, 2010, the governing board considered a staff complaint regarding employee numbers 437 through 743 and 390 through 241 and directed the superintendent to prepare a response affirming the superintendent's decision in accordance with its findings. Public employee matters. In closed session, the board individually considered and took action to non-reelect the following probationary certificated employees pursuant to Education Code 44929.21-B, so that each employment terminates effective at the end of the 2009-2010 school year, and directed the superintendent or designee to send out appropriate legal notices. Employee numbers 413-990, 242-006, 221-271, 476-976. The roll call vote was the same for each probationary certificated employee and was as follows: ayes 5, noes 0, no absent. End of my report.
Thank you. Moving on to the approval of the agenda, there are a couple of changes. We will be deleting item 8C1, which is the approval of revised 2010-2011 school year calendar. There is a correction to item 9B1C. Certificated employee request for leave should read, start date will begin June 11th, 2010 through June 23rd, 2010. Those are the changes, and also I'd like to request, if there is no objection, to move item 8D2, which is the discussion, let's see, what is it called? The public hearing on Helix Charter High School charter renewal petition, to move that item to be immediately prior to 8A1, which will move it sooner in the meeting, to allow those of you from Helix to participate and, if you choose, to leave earlier. Is that acceptable?
Where are you putting that?
Moving. Okay. Moving item.
What was the question?
They were cheering next door. 8D2 will be moved prior to 8A1.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So basically, 8D2 will be the very first item under Roman numeral 8.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience and indulgence on this. Okay, could I have a motion and second to approve the agenda as modified and amended?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote. Okay, motion is approved. Moving on to approval of minutes of governing board meetings. Let's see. Approval of governing, or could I have a motion and second to approve the minutes of the regular governing board meeting of February 11th, 2010?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Please vote. Motion passes. Could I have a motion and second to approve the minutes of the special governing board meeting of February 25, 2010?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Please vote. Moving on to Section 7, Informational Reports and Discussions. I call upon Matthew Plummer to report as Student Board Representative.
Well, our meeting is this Monday, so I have nothing to report right now because we had to push back the meeting because of the West Hills District cheer competition. So I've got nothing for this meeting, but I'll have 2 meetings worth of stuff to report at the next board meeting. So.
Do you know who won the cheer competition?
No, I don't actually. I don't.
Item 7B, Special Reports. Monthly report to Governing Board by Chairman of the Proposition H and U Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, Jim Pankman. I call upon Vice Chairman Alana Levins-Craig.
Good evening, Superintendent, school board members, and Cabinet. Sorry for my informal appearance this evening. I had to leave my daughter's track meet, which we lost, and my son's volleyball game, which we won, in order to be here, so I apologize. Mr. Pankman is in Van Nuys tonight, so he's asked me to report to you. Just 3 things tonight. We have assigned our CBOC consultant to do an independent review of the leaseback versus conventional contracting method on the science buildings at Santana, El Cap, and Monte Vista. Monte Vista being the leaseback method. We have started discussion on how much should be spent on the new high school before the enrollment trigger is met. And lastly, the third-party review will be our main topic at the next committee meeting, and expect that we will be able to comment and provide recommendations to the board at our next meeting. Thank you very much.
Item 2, report to the Governing Board on Proposition H and U status by Katie Wright, Program Director. Deputy Superintendent Scott Patterson.
Yes, thank you. In addition to the standard status report tonight, Katie will also provide you some information about the definition of the funding problem that we're starting to see from a cash basis. And again, this is due to the state not being able to pay us the matching funds that we were counting on at the time we were counting on them, and the process by which we'll work through those. So, Katie?
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Collins, ladies and gentlemen. My typical report, fairly short this month, but for the members of the public, this report will be on our website tomorrow, and these first few slides are routine program information. Again, this month, science buildings is the key effort. The Grossmont campus science building the siding's going on. We'll be completing that next month. The Helix campus, actually, that's an error on, we'll be completing that in the April-May timeframe, but good progress across the board there. As well as Mount Miguel, it's still in the 2B phase, and this is the last building, as we've discussed before, the last 11 classrooms wrapping up sometime next month. We'll have a ribbon cutting in May at the El Capitan facility. It's wrapping up next month as well. So really that's the theme across the board on all the sites with science buildings, that is. Also at El Cap, we completed some demo work on some old relocatables, and we'll be replacing it with a parking area here in the next month or so. Granite, which was, as you know, the last campus to get started, is making great progress, and we're comfortable we'll meet that September completion. But again, good progress there, so we're happy to keep that moving. Monte Vista, same story, good progress. We'll be wrapping that up next month, and you'll be seeing a series of these ribbon cuttings and such over the next couple of months. We've got the next one for Santana next week on the 18th at 3 p.m. It's a good-looking building. We're pleased to be turning that over to the campus. And last but not least, Valhalla next month as well. So all about the same time frame. In terms of design work underway still, and for Prop H, the Viking Center and Work Training Center, no change from this. We've reported this schedule to the last several months, and so that's all tracking, and we're moving down the road with that. From a summary standpoint, 291 classrooms will be modernized in this Prop H. 276 are completed now. In the next several months, we'll essentially complete that. and we've now turned over 16 of the science classrooms out of the 72 classrooms. So we're almost at the finish line on all of this. In terms of the new school, I've been giving you, I'm trying to elaborate now a little bit more for you on the schedule. In the middle there, we've completed the conceptual design. We're working on the cost estimate and then approval of that conceptual design. And once that has been approved by all the respective parties, including you, of course, we'll be moving into schematic design and the additional phases leading to construction drawings and eventually construction. In terms of land acquisition, as you know, you took action on the 3 remaining parcels that need to be acquired. We're in escrow on the parcel that you addressed last month, so we're again making progress on all those pieces. In terms of Prop U, this is just a chart that indicates our status or progress from last month. So we're in design on $100 million worth of work, and we're moving through all of that very rapidly and positioning ourselves for construction and DSA and all the respective approvals. In Prop U, we don't have any prospective cash flow issues, but that's not the case for Prop H, as the state essentially owes the district over $90 million for state monies that we qualify for, but they have not been able to fund due to the state budget crisis and their inability to sell the quantity of bonds needed to fund school projects. So we'll be working, we are working internally to develop our priorities for vetting with the superintendent and leadership, and then eventually we have a quarterly board subcommittee meeting next week. We'll be rolling that out for you. So that is just H, but it's a significant gap in our cash flow. We're positioned well. We have our projects ready to go. Our cost estimates are all right on. We just need that state money to move this stuff through. So we just want to keep that on your radar screen as it's a significant development for us. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving on to the quarterly report to the Governing Board of District Legal Costs. I call on Deputy Superintendent Scott Patterson.
Thank you. I'm pleased to report that for the quarter and for the half year ended on December 31st, we're doing very well in terms of our legal expenses overall. We're actually about half of what we were last year. Now, last year was no great benchmark, but in fact, we did expect that we would experience significantly less expenditures this year, and in fact, we're trending very well. So you can see it's $142,000 for the quarter, and once again, we also give you the year-to-date at $244,000. Again, last year at this time, we were above $450,000, so trending very well. Obviously, as you can imagine, there are some areas that are up and others that are down, but overall, it's a good news story.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll use yours. What happens to, let's see, we have the second quarter, October through December, and then you have the comparisons of July through December 08 and 09. Where's the year look at that? Where's January, February, March,
As we
April?
continue to report the quarters, we will report that same quarter from the prior year as well as year-to-date numbers. So what we're providing tonight is the second quarter, as you
Right.
noted, the first half of the year, or the first 6 months, and then that corresponding 6 months from last year. So every time we roll out a new quarter, we will show you that quarter, year-to-date, and that same period last year.
Last year. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, I guess I'm missing January, February, March, April, May. Oh, no, okay, because this is, you haven't closed that out.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Okay, gotcha.
We'll continue to try to provide the comparable period from the prior year. So next report will be the January through
Okay.
March, and then same period last year.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions regarding the district legal costs? Okay, we move on to item 8. And as discussed earlier, we will move on to item D2 first. which is public hearing on Helix Charter High School charter renewal petition. I hereby declare the hearing open, and I invite speakers to the podium, beginning with Chris Swanson. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have a brief introductory comment. The board is holding a hearing on the Helix Charter Renewal Petition in accordance with California Education Code 47605B. The Helix Charter Renewal Petition came to the district's board as part of its exercise of its oversight responsibility regarding the letter of intent to revoke the Helix Charter. It appears that the renewal petition is premature because Helix was granted a 5-year renewal 2 years ago, and their current charter is valid for 3 additional years. This board will hold a public hearing on the revocation or potential revocation on March 25th, 2010, in accordance with Education Code Section 47607E.
Thank you. Chris Swanson.
Hi, my name is Lisa Kaur. I'm attorney for Middleton Young and Minnie. We had arranged to do about a 20 to 25-minute presentation according to your legal counsel.
Is Chris Swanson here? She's a member of the public who...
She is. I asked your attorney if it was okay if we did our presentation before public comment. It's your preference. What you would prefer.
So she wants to speak after your presentation?
That's right.
That's
yes.
fine.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Hi, again, my name is Lisa Kaur, representing Helix Charter High School. Tonight your job is to consider the public support and or opposition for Helix Charter High School's renewal. As you will hear and see tonight, the community is overwhelmingly in support of the renewal of the charter. Many of you are probably wondering why Helix would submit a charter for a renewal in the middle of a current battle over the district's attempt to revoke the charter. The answer is fairly simple. Helix is desirous of a renewed relationship with the district and is asking the district to do the same. Helix is asking that the district commit to a positive relationship with Helix, a relationship that can serve as an example for the students of the district. We're handing you, and we've handed the audience tonight and outlined in a letter to your legal counsel, a compact for positive relations. It's aptly named CPR, to breathe new life into the damaged and politically strained relationship between the district and the charter school. This compact is proposed by Helix as a list of agreed-upon commitments that the district and the charter school need to make to ensure an exemplary relationship which will be of significant benefit to both parties and, most importantly, to the students they serve. Therefore, Helix is asking that the district renew the charter and agree to the compact for positive relations. If the district will not commit to the compact, Helix would conclude that the district is no longer interested in remaining the authorizer of the charter. And without the compact, truthfully, Helix would prefer another authorizer, preferring not to remain in a currently failing relationship. If you continue toward revocation and Helix appeals the revocation and is successful, the district will remain the charter authorizer. However, if you deny the renewal, Helix could appeal the denial to the County Board of Education and, as needed, the State Board of Education. If approved, the county or the state would become the new authorizer of the charter school. Another possibility is to consider options for sponsoring by another school district, for example, an elementary school district that feeds into Helix. The law would allow, under certain circumstances, this arrangement, and it appears based upon early communications with the local feeder elementary district in the area in which Helix is located that there is interest if the parties could agree upon the logistics of this new sponsorship. The current politically strained relationship between the district and Helix is borne on the backs of district and Helix students every day. Money is spent on legal battles that should be spent in the classroom. Your website Your website posts very clearly, character counts. You have advertised the 6 pillars of character: trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. The current relationship is not providing students with an example of those 6 pillars of character. Renewing the charter and agreeing to the Compact for Positive Relationships is an opportunity for both Helix and the district to demonstrate character to its students. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Collins. My name is Christine Passmore, and I am a teacher at Helix High School. It's my honor to be here tonight standing as the teacher representative as an advocate for the renewal of the charter. Tonight, I'd like to ask for all of the teachers, either sitting down or standing, to either stand up and join me standing through the speech, or just raise your hand so that we can see who is a teacher at Helix. Thank you. I have been teaching at Helix, there's a delay, I guess. I've been teaching at Helix for 5 years as both an English teacher and one of the senior project coordinators. Tonight I'd like to share with you from a teacher's perspective why renewing our charter is in the best interest of all of the stakeholders involved. I'd like to start by telling you a little bit about why I came to Helix and began my career there, a career that I hope to continue for many years to come. As I began my year of student teaching, I also began researching the San Diego schools that I wanted to work in. One of the college professors that I had was a teacher at Helix, and during her lecture, she often talked about her experiences at Helix, all of which were very positive. I remember thinking that Helix was a cutting-edge school in terms of being reflective and proactive about changing current teaching practices to best meet student needs. Dr. Harris was constantly talking about staff development opportunities where the teachers met to collaborate and work together, not only departmentally but across disciplines. I remember being impressed with how much voice the teachers seemed to have in instituting change and making decisions. I liked what I saw, and when it came time to apply for teaching positions, Helix was the only place that I submitted an application because I was so positive that it was the place for me to make the most positive impact on students' education. In my 5 years of teaching at Helix, I have never once regretted making that decision. Every teacher here has their story for why they came to Helix. For those who came within the last 10 years, I'm confident in saying that they were drawn by some aspect of our school that is affected by us being a charter. For those of us who've been here longer than the 10 years, they walked through the process of becoming a charter. And by them still being here, that shows that they are in support of Helix being a charter. Working at Helix Charter High School is so much more than just a job. Every day I get the opportunity to invest in the lives of young adults and not only empower them with an education, but give them support and encouragement as they traverse through one of life's more difficult and complex stages. Our work as educators, as you well know, is difficult, it's emotional, and it's tedious, but it's fruitful, rewarding, and the effects are very, very long-lasting. I am so proud to say that I work at Helix Charter High School because I have the added opportunity to get involved in various aspects of education due to us being a charter. At any other school, I would not have the opportunity to get involved in education the way that I have at Helix. I have served on committees, planned staff development days, had an active voice in how we implement state standards in our department, and I've also participated in the reformation of our graduation requirements. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that that would be my role as an educator. Previously, it was always thinking I would just be a classroom teacher. But being a teacher at Helix opened those doors for me. I did not anticipate that my contributions would be so rich. And standing here, I have to say that my contributions are very, very small in comparison to what other people in this room have contributed because we are a charter. One of the most amazing things about being a charter is that we, the teachers, in tandem with the other stakeholders, have a say in what happens at our school. Because of this, at Helix, the sky's the limit. This attitude has infiltrated everything that we do. Currently, in addition to statewide graduation requirements, our students complete a senior project. They decide a major while they're at Helix, and they complete 40 hours of community service, in addition to some other things. Starting next year, every student who graduates will be eligible to attend a UC school because they will have met the A through G requirements. Our vision is that students leave Helix prepared for college, and I believe that it is indisputable that we, in a collaborative effort, are continuing to improve the system of support we have created to help students achieve this goal. A common saying around Helix is that Helix means choice. Students choose to come to Helix and the staff chooses to work at Helix. We know that we're signing up for more when we sign up for Helix, but the rewards are absolutely invaluable. I am amazed at the transformation at students that they go through from grades 9 through 12. They are filled with confidence, determination, and a belief that they can achieve anything they want to. Each year at graduation, I celebrate the achievements that students have made in their 4 years at our school, but I also beam with pride at how well I know Helix has prepared them for their future. None of what we do would be possible without the charter. We have raised expectations, designed curriculum, and implemented support systems because of the freedom that the charter gives us. We have seen the positive results of our efforts, those of which I know you are well informed on. An increased API score, more students attempting and passing AP tests, higher pass rates on the CASI, being named a California Distinguished School, and getting positive feedback from our WASC visiting team. I firmly believe that we accomplish what we do because we are a charter school. And I'm honored to work with colleagues who believe in the charter as well. Colleagues who are interested in investing their time and their efforts in creating an educational institution that fosters student success. I'm standing here before you tonight to tell you from a teacher standpoint why I believe the charter should be renewed. I ask you, the board, to consider the positive contributions that Helix has made to our community and acknowledge that with the charter, students are achieving levels of success that many of them never ever thought was possible. On behalf of the teachers, I would like to ask you to approve our petition to renew the charter and the Compact for Positive Relations so that together we can continue serving our students and focusing on providing the best education for our students. Thank you.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Collins. My name is Frank Thoreau. I have been a classified employee at Helix for 27 years. I'm currently the academic advisor on the grade level team that serves the class of 2013 students and families of Helix Charter High School. It's an honor for me to speak tonight on behalf of my fellow classified employees. At this time, I too would like to ask my fellow classified employees to stand, whether you're in the room or not, and be recognized for the good work that you're doing. No matter what job title or duty, classified employees at Helix are valued by the certificated staff, the management team, students and their families, and the surrounding community. This appreciation promotes a sense of inclusion and pride that makes us feel that what we do at Helix is much more than just performing a certain job. Helix classified employees feel that the work we do is meaningful. We are confident of this because students, parents, and staff have continually acknowledged and thanked us for the support and commitment that we exhibit while performing our jobs daily. When the Grossmont Union High School District Board first authorized the Helix High School Charter, classified employees at Helix were given the opportunity to leave Helix for other classified positions throughout the Grossmont District. Nearly all of us chose to stay. The decision to stay was made easier because classified staff at Helix had already been consistently included in the restructuring process and subsequent petition for the charter. The ongoing commitment to ensure that classified employees had input in the restructuring process made us feel recognized that we were stakeholders in the restructuring process and that without our contribution, the move to charter could not succeed. Helix classified employees recognized that in order for the Helix Charter to be successful, our input would be required. This motivated many of us to assume leadership roles or serve on various restructuring committees. Helix classified employees perceived that the authorization of a charter by the Grossmont Union High School District Board at that time was an endorsement of Helix's mission and goals. This perceived endorsement was very encouraging to us, and we were aware of the shared responsibility given to us to produce successful results under our newly granted charter. This is why we stay and remain motivated to do our best to continually provide positive support for the Helix community of students, families, and staff. Helix classified employees believe that becoming a charter school has provided the opportunity for more collegiality to exist on our campus. Charter implementation has both afforded and required more communication and interaction amongst the entire Helix staff. The worth of classified employees to the Helix campus has become more evident as a result of teacher and administrator reliance upon classified staff to fully support students and their families. The phrase, "that is not my job," is no longer heard at Helix. All staff members are committed to supporting each other. Classified employees at Helix are committed to Helix's charter renewal. The Helix Charter is no longer just a document to us. It is a living, breathing entity that has allowed for renewed commitment to our Helix community and provided the flexibility to deliver methods for success that might not have been afforded without charter authorization. We believe our campus to be safer now than it was before we became a charter school. My 2 children who currently attend Helix would attend elsewhere if I did not fully believe that Helix was a safe place to prepare them for life after high school. Classified employees at Helix are currently discouraged that the shared vision between Helix and the Grossmont Union High School Board, who originally authorized the charter, has been lost by the board sitting in front of me today. It is our hope that this board will rediscover the vision that inspired the initial authorization of the Helix Charter. We ask that the Grossmont Union High School District Board approve both our charter petition renewal and the compact for positive relations. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Superintendent Collins. My name is Captain John Van Cleef. I am a parent of a Helix Charter High School student, a newly elected member of a community representative to the Helix Board, and the executive director of the Salvation Army Kroc Center. 3 years ago, our eldest daughter announced her desire to attend USC. And when we surveyed the schools in our area, Helix quickly emerged as the school of choice to help her accomplish that goal. Its innovative approach to learning, its methods of achieving its mission, made it our personal family choice. I'm pleased to report she's doing well at school, and we look forward to our 3 younger children also graduating as Scotties. Since enrolling our daughter, I've been pleased to discover that Helix administration and faculty intentionally nurture an intercultural student body with an asset-based approach to learning. They help all of the students, especially those who are confronted with perceived or real obstacles, realize their potential by creating a safe learning environment. In this context, young people learn to make decisions that lead to a positive, hope-filled future and avoid decisions that perpetuate a cycle of at-risk behaviors. The school's overall success is certainly affirmed by its designation as a California Distinguished School. My interest as a community member is because the Kroc Center is just 1/2 mile to the west of Helix Charter High School, and we benefit from the presence of Helix students in our programs and are able to distinguish their conduct from other young people who are not immersed in an asset-rich high school environment. Their participation is not only indicated by the school sweatshirts they wear, but also by their positive interaction with peers, coaches, and staff. The Helix way easily translates into the Kroc way and sustains a safe, accepting environment wherein everybody has the opportunity to achieve significance. Time doesn't permit me to really expand further on the successes of Helix. Therefore, I'll simply conclude by urging this board to approve Helix Charter High School application for renewal and adopt the Compact for Positive Relations. These actions will eliminate the instability created by the current threat of revocation and definitively affirm the board's public declarations of support for Helix and allow Helix to continue its exemplary success. Thank you.
Good evening again. My name is Timothy Shaw, and I'm a parent of a Helix senior. And 4 years ago, we won the lottery. We are residents of the Mount Miguel area, and we were invited to join the Helix staff and students. And we feel that we won the lottery at that time because my daughter, we had researched Helix and checked out their scores, and we loved what we saw. So therefore, we joined the Helix family. My daughter has been part of the band at Helix, yearbook, And I just recently left a track and field meet at not Steel Canyon, but El Capitan. Thank you. Good looking out. Okay? And we know that the students participate in theater, ASB, and a variety of other activities. Will the Helix parents, are we here today? Yes, we are. Are we in the overflow room? All right. Helix have high standards in writing and math standards. We love the student diversity that is among the student population at Helix. They're prepared for their future, whether it is community college, military, or four-year colleges. As my daughter sat down with her counselor, Mr. Falk, we set a plan for UCLA, and we're nervously awaiting presently for hopefully acceptance letter, okay? But Helix has remained, my daughter has had an outstanding education at Helix. Again, as I said, in English, the writing standards, again, the science, fine arts, and foreign language. Why I stand here before you today, I have an 8th grade daughter, and I would like for her to also to attend Helix Charter High School to receive the same opportunity that her sister received. I know that our children are in a safe, positive environment, and we beg of you today to renew the Helix Charter High School. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nitya Thimusina, and on behalf of the graduating class of 2010 and the students at Helix Charter High School, I would like to express my firm belief in the charter. At this moment, I'd like to ask my fellow students to rise and show their support. Throughout high school, I have participated in varsity sports, led several clubs, taken over 17 AP honors and college courses, and still managed to find time to participate in my community. Helix has not only given me a firm academic foundation, but also fostered skills like writing and speech that I'll be using for the rest of my life. As someone who immigrated to the U.S. in my pre-teenage years and attended more than 8 primary schools, I feel that I have finally found my home, my true place at Helix. I am proud to say that I will be graduating from Helix Charter this year. Helix has inspired me to strive for my best, no matter what the circumstances may be. Helix has made me what some may call an overachiever. I am not satisfied with simply fulfilling what is required of me. I feel the need to progress further, to challenge myself, to go above and beyond what is expected of me. Because of Helix, I believe that I have the power to make a difference in my world. To me and my classmates, Helix is not just a school, not just a place to meet new friends and anticipate college life. Helix is a family. Our grade level teams, counselors, librarians, principals, and administrators and teachers work with us on a personal level. To them, we're not just students. We're individuals with thoughts and ideas of our own. They listen to us. They nourish our ideas and passions. They proofread our papers. They teach us the importance of balancing school and extracurriculars with family life. They devote their full time to ensure our success. They support us on our darkest of days, congratulate us as we receive acceptance letters from colleges, reassure us as we feel overwhelmed during finals or senior project deadlines. I know that if I'm having the slightest bit of trouble with coursework or even family or financial issues, there is someone to whom I can turn to at Helix. I know that I will be given the opportunity to talk. I know that I will be listened to. Only someone who has attended the school and taken full advantage of its services can fully understand and appreciate the Helix vision. Helix is about communication, about passion, about community awareness, and challenging oneself. In the diverse community that is Helix, I have developed a sense of tolerance. I have become more aware and respectful of other people's perspectives. I can't begin to explain the level of academic excellence that Helix represents. Within the 4 short years that I have attended Helix, I have grown to understand the incredible effects that the Charter has upon us. I've witnessed a significant increase in test scores, equal academic opportunity no matter what one's background, and an increase in the number of students, my friends, challenging themselves, stepping out of their comfort zones and taking those AP classes or beginning vocational training. The philosophy of Helix, to me, seems to be this: you can if you think you can. No matter what one's financial or family background, at Helix, everyone has the opportunity to excel. And it seems ridiculous to me that matters have come so far. I love Helix. I believe in Helix. I feel safe at Helix. And I strongly believe that we should remain a charter and maintain positive relations with the district. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I guess we continue the hearing and discussion. I have a question, if I could direct it to, I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there's a speaker card first. Thank you. Chris Swanson? Thank you.
I have to say it's going to be tough following all of these speeches, and we were sitting back there thinking we might actually be voting for you for president someday. So, but okay. At any rate, my name is Chris Swanson. I am the CSEA Labor Relations Representative for the Classified Bargaining Unit at Helix Charter High School. I am here this evening to represent to you that the CSEA chapter leadership stand behind Helix Charter High School as a positive and safe environment for students and staff. Moreover, CSEA stands strongly behind the classified members and leaders of Helix Charter High School and their endeavors to improve student learning. The classified leaders of Helix Charter High School believe in the Charter Board's guiding vision to provide all students the tools and environment to become highly skilled, productive members of society, as well as self-directed learners. The Helix classified staff voted in January 1998 to move a petition forward to become an approved charter high school. And today, the classified leaders believe that through self-evaluation and improvement, Helix Charter High School has continued to set and achieve high standards in education in a safe and challenging environment for students and staff. The CSEA chapter leadership encourage you to do the right thing and improve the charter petition for renewal and agree to the compact for positive relations, as well as honor the academic excellence, strong programs, and services of the Helix Charter High School. Your actions tonight and in future hearings could have far-reaching effects on the classified staff. Their very livelihood depends on their commitment to their charter high school that they call home, and depends on your ability to recognize the value of the Helix classified staff who work diligently to ensure the success of the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the students, parents, teachers of Helix for a very impressive, passionate presentation. And it has an effect. It really does. You've got my attention. I've also am intrigued, and I give you my word, I will give very serious thought, and I will read carefully the Compact for Positive Relations. I have a question. If appropriate, I'd like to direct it to Board President Kathy Singer. I think I understand at least the intent.
Is this the compact you're referring to?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Let me set up my question.
I'm sorry.
No problem. I think I understand the at least the intent and the value of a compact for positive relations. Obviously, I can't comment on it without some serious thought. My question is related to the charter application specifically, which is if we were to approve the compact for positive relations or some iteration of that, why is it necessary to have a charter renewal when you have more than 3 years left on the current charter?
It's a recommitment. It's a renewal of our vows, so to speak. We've had problems over the last couple of years in communication, in trust, both ways. There's been problems with your board with ours, our board with yours, our community with your board. We want to make a fresh start. This is a renewal, your commitment to us, our commitment to you in a positive way. And we believe that new commitment leads us further in a strong direction for the next 5 years.
What are the differences between the new proposed charter that's up for that we're discussing tonight and the charter that was approved
Well,
less than 2 years
it
ago?
includes the amendments that were approved based on our agreements from last summer,
right.
as well as it's been brought up to code. So anytime you apply for a renewal, there's always been new laws passed between your last renewal and the new one, and you need to bring it up to standard. So that's what we've done on this new renewal, is bring it up to code. So there are things that were not required to be in a charter when we were approved 2 years ago that now are required. And those things have been added in. It's more like it has our policies in there that didn't used to be required as a part of the application. Okay. We have, in anticipation that there might be a problem and that you might choose not to work with us and want to renew us, we've also put things in that would be information needed by the county or the State Board of Education that you didn't need because you know us. We've been a part of this district for 58 years, and you've known what Helix has done for the 40-some-odd years prior to charter. Whereas if it goes to a State Board of Education, they needed more information about curriculum and standards and things like that. So that's also been added into the application.
Okay. I'm sorry?
Yes, that's some of the appendices. Sorry, I'm a math teacher.
Okay.
My vocabulary is limited on that. Is that all?
From me. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Schreiber has a question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and the perfect person for me to address this. I will concur with what President Shields said. Very, very impressive. And it just seems like you don't understand how much this board supports Helix Charter. Because this board has always supported Helix Charter from the get-go. I was elected to this board in 2000. I've had the opportunity to reauthorize the charter twice. I know the vision for the charter, the successes for the charter, and the support for the charter. Believe me, I think I got 100 or so emails, and I tried to respond to as many as I could, and I really appreciate the passion and all of that. I guess my question to you, Kathy, is what is it? The
Compact for Positive Relations, CPR.
I kind of like the acronym.
Yes, we do too.
Yeah. The CPR.
We're dying.
You know, I've talked to some other members of your staff, Kevin, and I had a long conversation. It was, I think, a productive conversation. And one of the things that I think is lacking in our relationship more than anything else is the fact that I sense a lack of understanding, again, I think I've said this before, as to what our role is as an authorizing agent and the oversight responsibilities that we have. I'm not talking about your successes, the academic programs. You excel far beyond probably our expectations. Your staff, your teachers, your students, everyone has done a phenomenal job and has made the Grossmont District very, very proud. The CPR, I think, Kathy, could have come sooner. Not to say what my position is. I'm just asking, why couldn't it have come sooner?
I can only speak on my opinion. I can't speak for my board.
I appreciate that.
I believe quite a bit of this compact is written in our charter as part of the conflict resolution policy that's been refused to be followed. I can't speak to why things like I believe it's here. It's there. It's
Okay,
in our
this,
charter.
This is in the CPR is in your charter.
Not the CPR as written, but most of the intent of this CPR in conflict resolution is about sitting face to face and talking. It's not as detailed as this.
That's not my question.
Well,
my question was, why didn't this?
Because I believe
be
it's
brought
already
to
there. I believe there is the intent of sitting down and talking. We've had requests to do all of these things and been denied. So we didn't put a CPR in writing because
Kathy,
we
there's
didn't know we got
a
to this.
million pages in a lot of documents.
Yes, there are.
Tons.
Yes.
My question to you is, why wouldn't you have pulled it out sooner? You're trying to make a point to this board now.
Okay.
To resuscitate.
I'm not understanding your question, I guess.
Why didn't you bring this
It's
to
here
us?
now. That's all I can say.
My question is, why didn't you bring it before?
It's here now. Can we go from here forward? We're trying to move forward in a positive relationship. We're trying to move past the past. Things have happened in the past, as I said, both ways, from you to us
Kathy,
and us to you.
And I don't want to get into a tit for tat. I understand that. What I'm asking is when we have Kathy, we're here today, and I think this could have been avoided had you stepped up to the plate and brought something to this board prior.
And I hear your opinion.
Wait a minute.
No, I hear your opinion.
Do you hear that?
I hear your opinion.
Do you hear the frustration that I'm trying to share with you because that has not happened in the past? It has not happened.
I'm completely aware of all the things we've tried to bring to the table.
I think I'm very much aware of the things that you brought to the table. And I'm very much aware of the things that this board and two members of our board have tried to bring to the table by inviting you to that table previously. Correct?
Are you talking about past events?
I'm talking about our past resolution meetings.
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
I'm talking about since then.
And wasn't that an effort on our part?
I think on both parts.
Initiated?
I think it was an effort on both parts.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate all of this, but I think that we're in a situation that we didn't have to be in, and I am sick and tired of this board taking the responsibility for it. And I'm just going to lay that at your feet. No further comment.
Are there any other questions? I thank you very much for your comments. I think, sadly, this situation is needlessly volatile with unfounded accusations, innuendo. I can say with conviction that there are people up here, perhaps not all, but some that have been consistently, passionately, and emphatically advocating for Helix. It distresses me, and I merely am sort of musing aloud at how we collectively can work toward a resolution when comments are so broad-brushed as to forget history. I am well aware that there is an unfortunate sensitivity that is largely caused by a news conference in October of, 2008. But I might remind you that almost simultaneous to that, Priscilla Schreiber was on stage in a separate news conference, standing side to side with Doug Smith. What? Oh, it was Larry? Oh, I thought you were there.
No, but my
Sorry.
My sentiments were there.
Okay. My mistake. I'm just...
But my sentiments were there.
Okay, fair enough. I am at a loss at how to find common ground with someone with which there is admitted some disagreement or conflict with, who throws everybody under the same bus with every disappointment or frustration that's arisen. Yes, there was a news conference. It involved people seated up here. It did not involve others seated up here. And there is at least one person seated up here that made it clear that she was not supportive of that and was supportive of Helix. I am at a loss of how to interact with, negotiate with, come to consensus with it really boils down to the board and the administration. It's not the teachers, it's not the parents, it's not the students. But the board and administration, it obviously affects you, without question. But we do want to get along. But when there is common ground, and you throw that out, it's very difficult to build the bridge when the actions of some erode what is already potentially common ground between us. When you attack Ms. Schreiber, you take away ground. Absolutely. Okay, do any other board members have comment or questions? Okay, we will take these things under consideration. I declare the hearing closed. Thank you for your time. We move on to action item 8A1, consideration of a special exemption to Governing Board Policy 7310 and naming the Grossmont Union High School District's proposed 12th high school, the Ronald Reagan High School, and scheduling a public hearing to receive community input.
Mr. President?
Yes, Dr. Wood.
Or should we wait till...
we can wait.
Might take 2 minutes.
Yeah. You know what? I will declare a 3-minute recess. Thank you. And we'll move on. Thank you for your prompt return, Mr. Kelly. I call the meeting back to order. Moving on to item 8A1, consideration of a special exemption to Governing Board Policy 7310 and naming the Grossmont Union High School District's proposed 12th high school, the Ronald Reagan High School, and scheduling a public hearing to receive community input. We are open to discussion and possible direction to staff to schedule a public hearing and to receive community input. Does any board member want to address this?
Can I make this as a motion, or is this just a comment?
Actually, it was Dr. Woods who put it on the agenda.
Go ahead.
What I'm moving is that the board schedule a public hearing to receive input from the public regarding the naming of the proposed 12th high school, the Ronald Reagan High School, at the next scheduled board meeting, and that input not be limited to geographical areas as per Governing Board Policy 7310.
A second?
Okay.
So what I'm asking for is that we schedule this at the next board meeting and that it be a public hearing to receive input from the public.
I just want to clarify first, so I understand. Is the effect of this motion to waive policy 7310?
Correct. It would be that it's going to be broader than just a geographical area.
Okay, so can we add just to avoid confusion, can we add the words expressly waive policy 7310?
Correct.
Okay. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay,
I agree
are
with
we
that.
do we understand the motion on the floor at this point?
We want a public hearing, and we want it to be broader than just geographical areas.
Okay.
In other words, I would name it after an individual.
Well, okay. First of all, the motion on the floor is really to waive the current policy 7310 and to schedule, which is the recommended action here, to schedule a public hearing. Okay.
For April 15th.
Oh, is that the next regular schedule?
Yes.
April. Okay, April 15th. Okay, thank you. There is a motion
I
and a second.
seconded it.
There is a motion and a second. Discussion.
Oh, okay. While I love Ronald Reagan, I just I am considering the fact that we have always done this geographically also. And it's kind of different for the Grossmont district. But having said that, I think that having a hearing to get public input does not disallow the opportunity for input towards a geographical name or something that's relevant to the Alpine community itself. So we can waive and make that more comprehensive is what you're asking, with consideration for all names to be on the table, whether it be geographical or whatever, at the public hearing. So I just wanted to qualify that. Okay. Perfect.
If I can ask a question, we can make exceptions. In fact, it says so in the policy. But we're calling for the naming of it after a hearing, and in the policy it says the superintendent or designee shall establish a committee to receive suggestions from the public, students, and staff. The committee, which shall include representatives of those three groups, shall screen suggestions and submit a recommendation to the board for action. That would not occur under this. That's what I'm asking.
That's correct.
Would that not occur?
Correct.
Okay, now, as a history teacher, I actually kind of studied, presidents and things like that. Governor Ronald Reagan. This was in 1967, by the way.
I remember those days too.
Yeah, 1967. That was a long time ago. But he said, "Now let it also be understood that I'm a firm believer in public education." And then he went on to talk about public education and how he supported it. But he also supported things like local control. And he believed in, government as close to the people as possible. And while I have no objection whatsoever to naming it after a president, I have no objection to it being named after, Alpine, if you will. I do, though, think that we ought to follow this procedure. I think what we ought to do is pass a resolution that says you can name it whatever you want. But I think we should go with this committee and do it the way we've done it in the past. And here's why. When you hold a hearing, you don't know what you're going to get. You're not absolutely sure that you've actually gone around and surveyed the community. It's who shows up, who can come that night, who stacks the deck one way or the other. And they might stack it the way that I don't like, or the way that you don't like. So what I would propose is that we come up with a resolution that says, you know, in this particular case, we're not going to demand that it be a geographic place name. It would be fine with us if it was a president, and and we can even suggest names for that. I mean, we're part of the community too, I figure. But I still think Alpine needs to make this decision. It's theirs, and I will support that. And so I cannot vote for this if it's a hearing. I can vote for it in terms of opening it up to any name within reason. If we go through this process where we make sure that the entire community is surveyed, you know, because that's the way I would do it. I'm just afraid that, you know, a month from now, who can show up on April 15th it might mislead.
Trustee Hoy, I have unlimited respect for you, and you are a fantastic colleague, and I enjoy you more every meeting. No, except. No, and I respect you immensely on this proposal. It comes with great thought and preparation as you approach every agenda item of every meeting. And I've had a chance to put, actually, just because I've been on the board, this is my 8th year here. And so I've had probably almost 8 years to think about this. In fact, I even had conversations with Mrs. Schreiber, gosh, probably about that long ago. And we even talked about it back then. And so as we've been approaching this point, I've given it more thought. Now, I am admittedly a big fan of Ronald Reagan. I think he was, and not just myself, I know Dr. Woods feels the same way equally. We're very passionate. We think he's one of the greatest Americans of the 20th century, maybe the greatest. And he's not only a historical figure, but he is a world historical figure. An amazing, in fact, Dr. Woods, he even has a number of statistics, which I'd be thrilled if he would read them to you in a minute, on why we both think he's an amazing American. But so here's the thing is, I'm aware that the board policy calls for a committee, but the committee, you call for a committee when you don't have a name, but we're putting forth the name Ronald Reagan High School. So if we're putting forth a name to be considered, then you don't. Dr. Woods and myself. When you're putting forth a name for the board's consideration, and we are calling for a public hearing for everyone to please lobby with their feelings, then you don't need a committee when you're already putting forth a name. And then, so I believe that the responsibility of the board at the next meeting is we're considering Ronald Reagan High School to vote on that name.
Well, okay. So this is not my plan to do, but suppose I would like to name it the Alfred E. Newman, who you may not even know, but I do, because I grew up with Mad Magazine. But if I were to propose that and then ask for a hearing, the thing is, what I'm afraid of is we'll start down a path where we're doing that, and I think it should come up from the grassroots. I think we can suggest to the committee. I just think that Ronald Reagan would expect the grassroots people to come up with it. I think that's my feeling about Ronald Reagan and how he did things.
Trustee Hoy, you have no way of knowing this, but that's where it came from, the grassroots. I've been conducting a poll for 7 or 8 years with all sorts of community leaders from Alpine and the surrounding areas. much time and thought has been put into this, and that's why I welcome the public hearing, and this motion called for a public hearing, because I believe it will be very greatly supported by the Alpine, Blossom Valley, Harbison Canyon area. Exactly.
That's what a public hearing is all about.
Did you want to read what?
Well, I think I might want to save this for the public hearing.
Okay. In fact, in a way, Dr. Woods, I'm co-working on this, and it was beginning of February where I sent an email to all the staff and the superintendent and to other leaders in Alpine, and to get the word out. In fact, I had initially wanted to have a vote at this meeting, but I thought it was in the best interest to give more than enough time for everyone to weigh in on the subject and get as much input as possible to move it to April 15th. So we do welcome, and if the community rejects it, no hard feelings.
How will we know? That's what bothers me. Is who shows up here? Are we going to take us?
No, people can email us their response. They can fax us. They can call the office. I'm sure the staff is cringing at that one. They can show up in person.
See, well, okay. I just think that could lead. I think that could lead to all sorts of manipulation, one way or the other. An email. You do it by email. You don't know sometimes who's
That's
who.
a good point. And that will take into consideration.
It's anyway. I like the idea that we've done for the last since I was a little boy in the district.
So one thing is clear, Mr. Hoy, is that it is the board's responsibility to vote on the name, and each and every board member can take in input and consider the various types of input however they wish, but it's up to the 5 members, the 5 trustees of the Grossmont District to make that decision on behalf of the people of the Grossmont District.
Thank you for clarifying what this action was. I wasn't quite sure. And you're right. I didn't read it right. I was on that committee in the district office. I don't know if you were there, but many people were around that table, good friends of ours, as we talked about Ronald Reagan High School.
I wasn't there.
Okay, you weren't there. And it's a great idea. It's just, I think it's, Ronald Reagan was a statesman and would serve any school district or any school proud, having his name bestowed upon it. But I guess I have a concern I just have a concern about how this is going down. When you just mentioned about waiving the geographical thing, I forgot that there was a committee requirement, and I know that we had talked about this, but we have a design team out there working on what the school is going to look like. We have an Alpine High School committee. None of them have come to us and brought a name for the high school, and I don't even know if we're at that point yet. So it's almost like we're imposing this name to be voted on before. Why would we have a design team and not a team that gives input as to what the name of the school is? And yes, do we have the final authority to vote on it? Absolutely we do. But I know Alpine, and you've said this yourself, they have worked so hard on both bonds and have waited for so long to get a high school, and we're going to just pull the carpet from underneath them and just impose the high school name. We have many people to consider in Alpine. We have a lot of our tribes that can bring resources to help augment that school. And I'd like to get their input. And I know that there's a lot of people that support Ronald Reagan. But I think the way to go about this, so you're for sure that you're doing it the right way and have the community support, and 9 out of 10, you may have the support for Ronald Reagan. But I think that we should just, I know we have an amendment on the table, but I think we should.
I don't think it's on.
Oh, it's not on?
Because there was no second.
There was no second? Okay. There was a second.
Amendment. I thought you meant an amendment.
No, just a motion so far.
No.
Okay, just
He's
for clarification.
He's amending this.
Right. Let me
That's a motion.
let me read the motion so we understand what we're talking about. This is my understanding of the motion so far, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, Dr. Woods. The motion is to waive policy 7310 and move to schedule a public hearing on April 15th to receive input on naming the 12th high school the Ronald Reagan High School.
Correct.
Okay.
That's
thank
why
you.
we pay him the big bucks.
Yes. Okay, go for it, Jake.
I'd like to amend that to waive the
First part.
the part on naming it by geographical names, but maintaining the second part in terms of coming up with a name for the school. So that's my amendment if it gets a second.
Second.
Well, I think, okay, help me out here in terms of
Yeah, if we could-
procedure. My understanding is amendments have to be accepted by the person who made the initial motion. So it's not a separate second.
Oh, okay.
Right, otherwise we just.
So it's up to the discretion of Dr. Woods whether he
If he
accepts
wants to
that
accept it,
amendment or
okay.
not. Yeah.
I second.
So, Dr. Woods, do you accept the amendment proposed by Mr. Hoy?
No, I will not, I want to leave the motion as is. And does my second agree?
Agree.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, once again, the motion on the floor that we are now voting on is to waive policy 7310 and move to schedule a public hearing on April 15th to receive input on naming the 12th high school the Ronald Reagan High School.
Well, we're more than receiving input. We're also going to, if the board so chooses, it'll be an action item to vote on accepting the name Ronald Reagan High School.
Public hearing. Okay, so it's more than just receiving input.
Yeah.
Okay, I should say, yeah, receiving input and voting.
You do realize the default position for this is Ronald Reagan High School. That's the default. Okay.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, it's the default position. It's to hear input on us naming it.
Yes.
There's no other choice.
Other recommendations could be made too.
No,
Well,
that's not what this amendment says.
That's not what.
You're saying we can only get input on
Okay.
Ronald Reagan High
No,
School.
okay, here's what I like this. Dr. Woods, I think Dr. Woods agrees with this. We'd like to receive any and all input. But that we'd also, the board would have the opportunity, if it so chooses, to vote on any name. Well, I'm sorry, I'm confusing this.
It's not what
We're
this
get-
says.
We're going to vote on whether to name it Ronald Reagan High School.
Yeah, so, okay, then that sounds like we're going to have to make an amendment to our motion. Amendment to our amendment.
It looks
Okay.
like the superintendent wants to say something.
You can't amend an amendment.
Oh, okay. We can try, huh?
Try.
And now they're trying.
Okay, my understanding was with my motion that we would, at the end of the hearing, be able to vote
On Ronald Reagan only.
on Ron,
Only.
or we could vote against Ronald Reagan.
Up or down.
Yeah, it's up or down.
Yeah,
Ronald
yeah.
Reagan. There's
Right.
no other choice.
Yeah,
Yes.
we can listen and say, okay, no, we're not going to call it Ronald
Exactly.
Reagan.
That's what we're saying. There's
Yeah.
no other,
You-
there's
okay.
no other names that can come forward by this agenda item.
They can say anything they want.
No, your vote's on Ronald Reagan.
That-
And their input
mhm.
is yes or no.
Correct.
And then we
That's correct.
vote on Ronald Reagan, yes or no.
Yes.
Correct.
That's what's on the table here.
Okay,
And
that's,
so-
that's what's on the table.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what that's.
I think the board action is pretty clear. If you go down, it says considering naming the 12th high school Ronald Reagan and hold a public hearing to receive input from the public, students, and staff regarding this recommendation.
Yes.
So the issue is that people can speak for it,
Or
they
against
can
it.
speak against it, and the board would make a decision, is the way this has been framed.
Correct.
If that's your intent,
Yes.
I'm assuming, Mr. Woods.
Yes, it is.
I think the only change that's been made to the staff's recommendation is to change the meeting date. It says before or on or before
Correct.
April 30th
I
to
heard
April
the
15th.
amendment was to hold it on the 15th.
Yeah, so we're going to hold on to 15th.
What's the April 30th?
The very, very last thing, very last.
Oh.
Wait.
Right, so
Why
we're
is
changing.
April 30th even in there?
That was an error on my part, I'm sure.
Well, why do you even have a date?
We need to say when the public hearing is going to be.
Oh, for the public hearing.
Correct.
Okay. Oh, you ready?
These are my notes so far.
Okay.
In the future, I might suggest you write a motion
Put it in writing,
before
huh?
you get here. This is my understanding of the intent of your motion. Dr. Woods, please either confirm or not if this is your motion. Motion 2, waive policy 7310 and move to schedule a public hearing April 15th to receive input on naming the 12th high school, the Ronald Reagan High School, and an action item to vote for naming the 12th high school, Ronald Reagan High School.
For or against?
Well, that's what a vote
Good.
is.
Okay, good. That's it.
Stands to reason.
Thank you.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Is,
That your second?
That's my second.
okay.
And I appreciate the board's patience and input.
Is there any further discussion on that motion? Okay, please vote.
Well said, I think this one's mine. Where's,
Come on, Dr. Woods.
oh. He just voted yes for me.
Okay.
Does that count?
Motion passes 3-2. Moving on to item A2, election of candidates for the California School Boards Association Region 17 Delegate Assembly for 2010. Do board members, board members please review the delegate vacancies and nominate delegates from the pink sheet. I think has everybody been provided?
Yeah, we got it. Pink. Mr. Chair, I have some recommendations being a delegate member myself
Okay.
for your consideration of the board. I'll just go down the list. I know that we nominated Jill Bartow from Cajon Valley School Board. I've served with Douglas DeCero from Valley Center Palma. Katie Dexter. They're these guys
I'm
are.
sorry. So are you asking that to be one of our nominees?
Yeah, I'm going to give you what my recommendations are.
Jill Bartow,
Jill
Douglas
Bartow,
DeCerio?
Douglas DeCerio, Katie Dexter, James Greer, kind of spreading it out through the region. Barbara
Right.
Groth, Steve Lilly, 9.
Steve Lilly.
Dan Lopez, Rachel, I think she's new, so I can't pronounce her name, and Ann Renshaw.
How many are we allowed to nominate?
9.
Oh, thank you.
And that is 3. That is 9?
Yeah, it's 9.
5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's 9. Gotcha. Do any board members, would any board members like to nominate somebody that Ms. Schreiber has not nominated? And we can have discussion about that. We have one collective vote
Well, I'd like
for
to,
up to 9 votes is how it works.
Okay, well, I'd like to nominate Jane Alfano from Cajon Valley.
Where,
She's the first lady.
okay. Does any other board member have a request for a nomination? Well, there's 10 now. Okay, now, my understanding so far is Ms. Schreiber has nominated 9, Mr. Hoy 1, or recommended nominating 9, Mr. Hoy 1. That's a total of 10. We are allowed only 9 votes.
So you two have to fight it out. Who are we going to get out?
Well, I guess I'd forego Vista and Bill Jane. Steve Lilly.
So, you,
Steve and vote for Jane.
okay, so you will withdraw Steve Lilly. Do any board members have any objection to any of those 9?
Boy, that's a lot of women.
What I would suggest then is, could I have a motion to nominate the 9 people listed?
Second.
So moved.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay, please vote. Okay, moving on to item B, business services, approval of monthly budget overview for the period ending January 31st, 2010. Could I have a motion and second to discuss and approve? On what? On, come on. Okay. Approval of monthly budget overview for the period ending January 31st, 2010. Could I have a motion and second to discuss and approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Let's see. This is not a presentation yet. Is there a discussion on the motion? Okay. Any discussion? Please vote. Item B2, ratification of change orders approved pursuant to Resolution 2009-166. Could I have a motion and second to discuss and approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote. Item 3, approval of fiscal year 2009-2010 second interim certification of fiscal solvency in compliance with Education Code sections 42130 and 42131. I call upon Deputy Superintendent Scott Patterson to introduce this item.
Thank you. Tonight we will ask your approval of the second interim financial report for the fiscal year 09-10. As you know, state law requires school districts to submit these reports by March 15th of each school year. And it calls on us to look at not only the current year, but 2 years out. So tonight, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to take you through a few slides providing the background and ask for your approval at the end of the presentation. So the agenda is we will summarize that, and we will also talk about potential actions and recommendations to resolve the deficits that we see in those out years. I wanted to start with the big picture because it's instructive, again, to kind of look out and see where we are in the context in which we're operating. The state budget pictures, there's no real news or progress. I think some of you have been, all of you have been following it along with what is or what is not happening at the state budget level. They've declared a $20 billion budget gap through the next fiscal year, and we don't see really any progress yet there on solving their structural issues. The Legislative Analyst's Office did come out with a proposal to exercise cuts different than what the governor had suggested, but same size. So we're probably still looking at some form of those level of cuts to this district. This is kind of one of those no fair statements. K-12 education's taken 50% of the cuts so far, and we account for 40% of the state budget. So all of us advocate for the fact that we've done our fair share. Quit cutting us disproportionately to the rest of the state. Whether that is sustained or not, we'll see, but we're hopeful. Very important point, and as you look around the district, or excuse me, you look at the districts around the county and the state, we and this board have said we do not want to lay off any more people. We are down to bare bones services for our students, And while we will be sweeping some vacancies, we are looking at no layoffs. You would be doing that tonight because those certificated notices need to go out by March 15th. You're not taking any action in that regard tonight.
You're sweeping some current vacancies?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but let's say somebody in June says, you know, my husband's got a job back east and I'm going to move back there. Is that a vacancy that we will leave open, or are we going to replace that teacher?
Well, first, let me clarify, and thank you for bringing that up. We are not looking at sweeping vacancies in the classroom other than eliminating vacancies having directly to do with 9th grade class size reduction. All other vacancies in the classroom will be filled. We've updated our projections. There's a little bit of a slight improvement that I will share with you tonight. But
I'm sorry, I have a quick question. Because this is the drop dead date for the pink slips, how many other school districts in our community are not issuing pink slips that you might
I don't
be
have
aware
the
of?
count, Ms. Schreiber, but it's very few, if any.
Just curious if
anybody
anybody's
not doing layoffs, Steve?
Lakeside and San Diego are the two that I know about that are not.
Lakeside had a healthy reserve. Okay. Okay, thank you.
But again, the problem in front of us is while we are spending down ending balances and reserves, we have a significant structural imbalance that we need to resolve. So what does that look like for us? Just some key assumptions. You've seen these all before, except for the fact that our ADA projection has deteriorated a little bit. So when we say we've got a net increase of 65, that's from what we adopted last June. But if you remember, when we were here in December, we were looking at a projected increase of 127. That was before we had our first marking period, otherwise known as P1, in December. When we had that, we looked at the historical relationship between the first marking period and the way it ends up in the end, and we've applied that same factor to this. So while we're still seeing a bit of an increase from where we thought when we adopted the budget, not quite as big as we had said, had hoped back in December. However, again, these are still projections, so we've got to wait for this to all shake out before we get to the final tally for this fiscal year.
We're projecting to be down in enrollment next year, is that correct? Now,
Yes.
I'm not talking about 2009-10, 2010-11?
Yeah. So we're looking at the 19064 for next year in terms of ADA, so proportionate reduction in enrollment.
And it does, now I'm hoping that it'll be higher, but I went to a meeting last week, I guess, and we had a demographer explain the huge increase in Middle Eastern immigration that is scheduled for the next 2 years in East County. And do we take, we don't count or take any of that into account until it shows up, is that correct?
Unless it has already shown up in the 8th grade level coming into 9th grade, that's correct, Mr. Hoy.
So if it was just we don't plan, there'll be, last year we got 100 kids that were of high school age who arrived here that year.
Well, we do take into account what's known as the cohort survival, which is what's the relationship between the prior year enrollment and next year enrollment. So to the extent that those kids did show up mid-year, that trend would be included in that analysis. So, so we're on 910, just really quickly. We have not forecast any mid-year state budget cuts. We're not getting any signals that will be cut anymore this year. And we've included the level 1 actions from what we talked about on January 28th in our projections, and I'll highlight that for you in a moment. We're also looking at 10-11 and the out year. I forgot to mention that we are spending down all of our SF squared money. That's the Fed stimulus money. But we've still got more work to do is basically the message here. Any questions on that? Moving forward.
So you're saying that our reserves are going down, not going up?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Someone's had a rumor that we're going up. I thought, well, this is good news, but not so.
Grossmont Grapevine again.
No.
No.
Okay, so here's the tote board for, and again, this is our projection for the 3 years. In 9-10, we see revenue of 178, expenditures of 191. We've got a problem of 12.9, but as you remember, we're using one-time funds to resolve that. So there's a structural imbalance there. We're solving that with the one-time funds. In 10-11, that grows a bit to 15 million. Remember, we're spending the 4 million of the SF squared money we just talked about. In 11-12, that grows to 18 million. So that's what I would describe as our basic underlying structural gap. If you look at that, that's about 10% of our base. So that's really the big nut that we need to solve out there, is that structural deficit after those one-time dollars are depleted. This is a chart that almost looks like Christmas, except at Christmas you get stuff, and this is bad because this is showing the difference between our revenues and our expenditures just in visual form. Same numbers that you just saw here, but in bar chart form. We need to get to the point where these bars are level. That's solving the structural deficit. Let's look at what we were looking at back in the first interim. We had a first interim before the governor came along and said, whoops, not so fast. We had an adjusted first interim. Where are we today? And these are the numbers we just looked at on the prior chart, the 12, the 15, the 18. So things got a little better by the $1.5 million, $1.8 million. Why did that happen? Well, we've rolled in level 1 actions from the last time we got together. We've started to score the savings we're seeing on spending and hiring freezes, and we've rolled those forward to the extent of $1 million. So we're looking at how the expenditures are rolling out, and we're projecting that through the end of this year and into the future. The miscellaneous revenue adjustments has to do with that reduction in the ADA that we talked about. We thought it was going to be 127. It was only 65, and a few grants that offset. So that's the explanation for why we think it got better by a bit. This eye chart is only here to let you know that here are all the components of the revenues for the 3 years and the expenditures. And I wanted to just take a minute to focus in on a couple areas that have been a topic of discussion and worthwhile topic. Why is that number so big, and why is that number so big? So for those of you who I'm blocking the view, books and supplies of 15 million and services and other operating. And so let's break it down, but essentially the short answer is we have to aggregate all of the different kinds of expenditures and funding sources in the district, and so it's hard to see at this level what you're looking at. And quite frankly, that number is bigger than what we spent last year, and I'll explain that too. So let's take that $15.1 million we were just looking at right there. This is books and supplies. A lot of stuff goes into it. The unrestricted portion are essentially those dollars that are sitting at the school sites to buy books and supplies and instructional materials and everything else, and the unrestricted part of the budget. This is what we generally call our general fund. In reality, it's all in the general fund, but shorthand-wise, when we say, can you balance the general fund, that's what we're talking about. The rest of the dollars are in restricted categories. Economic impact aid, as you know, we use these to serve our ELL students, our language students. Instructional materials that are restricted by the lottery funding to that. Vouchers from Microsoft, Project Shield, you can go down the list. A big one that's here is RLP Perkins. A good thing happened there too. They got some specific Fed stimulus monies into the RLP Perkins area. As you know, RLP on an annual basis will be transferring $500,000 a year to the general fund and help offset salaries in that category. So there's a holding account right now that will migrate up into the salaries area. Mr. Hoyer?
Is there anything in the restricted portion that frees up money somewhere else?
And that was one example I gave you.
What's that?
Was the RLP. Title I, we use that where we can, so some of our teachers in the learning centers that are over and above the basic allocations to the schools that generate Title I dollars, our El Cajones and Mount Miguel's, Monte Vista, So yes, there are, when we can strategically use these dollars to free up dollars on the general fund indirectly and directly by moving, for instance, again, the ROP dollars directly over to be spent in the unrestricted side.
But if you look at, Scott, if you just looked at the budget and you saw books and supplies, $15.1 million, one might say, well, why can't we just take like 8-9 million and meet our budget deficit?
Right.
You're telling me we can't really use underneath the 2.9 most of those dollars unless we play them off against other dollars, and the only part of that 15.1 that you could use is the 2.9, but you'd be telling the schools they have no operating money for that.
Right, right. Mm-hmm. And another way to say that is that if those dollars aren't spent, we're showing those being as all spent in the prior array of if they're not spent, they roll over into these categories and are used in the subsequent year for those programs.
In the unrestricted, the 2.9 million, do you know what portion of that is actually books?
No, but I can.
The reason I ask is, as a teacher, I couldn't get by without paper up in the duplicating office. I'm sorry, I just couldn't. But you know what? You can forego. You can use the textbooks one more year, or you can buy 2 or 3 to, the ones that are lost. I know this sounds like nitpicking, but I'm looking for dollars everywhere, and maybe all the wrong places too.
No, and the state recognized that very thing and delayed the requirements to adopt those new textbooks as they came along by subject areas. So that what that does is it puts the decision making back on the district. Do you want to refresh and replace those books, or do you want to keep using those textbooks as they have been? And as you know, as part of the budget solutions, we have swept a good deal of the instructional materials over to the general fund, and I'm going to propose to you that we actually increase that a bit more. So the other thing that I would, and we can come back to this with any other questions. Here's the 19 million that we were looking at. I'll bring it back. There's the 19.1 million in services. This is where we consolidate basically everything that doesn't fit another category. But it's not people, it's not books and supplies, and it's not capital. Here's everything else. So the 19 million is good to look at too in terms of its makeup. Utilities and insurance is a huge component of our non-personnel budget, as you all know. We talk considerably about non-public schools and services that fall under the special education program. And again, Mary Sue and her team and the entire educational services side continues to look for opportunities to reduce the external costs because it is more expensive outside, and bring those services inside to the greatest extent possible. Rents, leases, and maintenance, our school police, and again down the line. The charter school services, to the extent that we have oversight services, and the fact that they buy some of the services back actually is a negative expenditure if you can get your head around that one, but it adds back down to the 19.1. But again, instruction and staff development, oftentimes we say, what are we spending on consultants? Well, those are the dollars that we have budgeted for expenditure in that area, and we're continuing to look at, in these tight times, at trying to reduce that too in favor of salaries for our employees. So hopefully this gives you a kind of an idea of everything that's kind of rolled together when we aggregate the data at the highest level, and we'll continue to look for opportunities anywhere we can to use these dollars strategically to benefit the general fund, and I'll say more about that in a moment, and that moment is coming now. So what do we do to resolve our problems? We've talked before about level 1 actions that I think we need to move out with now and maximize to the greatest extent possible. We talked about the SELPA funding increases and reducing tutorial programs. We have already included those in our projections that we're showing you tonight, so that's why they've got a box around them. We would propose to eliminate 9th grade CSR through attrition, and again this gets to Mr. Hoy's question about will we be replacing vacancies. We absolutely will everywhere but here, and once we get the right number here, we will be replacing those too. Numbers-wise, that's 11, 12 positions that we need to attrit out of the system next year. Reducing summer school to 1 3-week session, that'll save us $1 million. And again, these should look familiar except where you've got a new price tag on there that's a new. We're increasing our instructional materials from 500,000 sweep to 700,000 sweep. That will serve to reduce that 2.9 that we looked at the other day, or a minute ago. ROP, we would like to ask ROP to contribute another $100,000 a year, up from 500 to 600. As you said, we're looking for all the dollars we can, because when you start adding them up, we eventually start to make some progress. Reducing district office operating budgets by 25%. I think that's a minimum number. We're, as the superintendent indicated, we're starting to go line by line through all of the non-personnel budgets in the central office, and we will bring you back how we're doing on that and what I would refer to as a scorecard. That looks promising to significantly increase that. We're going to look at reducing a bit on the school site dollar allocations, a couple $100,000. Reducing substitute budgets. I think this is another one where we're going to make some headway above and beyond the 100,000 that we've scored here. Targeted program reductions. We may do better in that area too, with training and some of the programs that we've talked about there that we're going to scale back on. Eliminating non-classroom vacancies, and this is where it gets to the fact that we're emphasizing that point. That $800,000 represents about another 10 to 11 to 12 positions. And we are going to maximize this to the greatest extent possible. There will come a point, though, this is not a bottomless well. There will come a point where we are going to have to replace some of the positions that go vacant. We can't ride this horse forever, but we're going to probably beat that number right there. We still need to identify how we offset the projected growth in special education. One of those items is the waiver that you approved us submitting to the California State Board of Education to reduce summer school by a week. It's mandated 4 weeks, but we'd like to do 3 weeks consistent with our regular ed program. New price tag here. We did renegotiate the sheriff's contract and saved rounds up to $100,000. It's about $80 on an annual basis. And guess what? We're going to get an American Express card with rebates, and we're going to start paying for our special education, non-public schools, and fuel, and anybody else that will take the American Express card and generate about $100,000 of rebate savings.
I was wondering how you figured the 100,000.
We find the big numbers and find people who will take credit cards, and amazingly, some of our non-public schools and agencies will.
Non-public schools.
Yeah, we finally found a good. I shouldn't say. But anyway, large procurements that are made centrally, they obviously all go through the central purchasing department. But if they take the American Express, we're going to do that. Ken and Giselle have been working on that pretty hard over the last couple of months. So level 1, we're targeting just under $6 million. If we can improve on that, and by the way, that's a big part of the strategy. Get this number as absolutely high as we can, so that we can offset some of the things we look at in level 2. Again, level 2 are generally things that are more difficult and are negotiable and much less pleasant for all of us as we move forward. But we'd like to, well, we wouldn't like to. We are proposing to reduce deferred maintenance down to a bare minimum level here. And again, this is very hard for me to suggest because of our capital programs and the faith that the community has put in us to deliver those improved facilities. We talked earlier about the tough decisions when the money comes back. This is one of those things that it's going to be one of those things that's going to be on the scale when we talk about that. In the interest of not going over some of these again, but you've seen these are all elements of proposals to our bargaining partners in terms of reducing the school year, health and welfare benefits changes, and salary rollbacks that we would dearly love to minimize. In summary,
Sorry. What were you basing on the health care? How do you arrive at that 1.2? It's a combination of all those underneath?
It's basically a target number that we would like to achieve on a calendar year basis. If we achieve $2 million of calendar year savings, because remember our health programs are all January through December.
Okay.
If we experience $2 million worth of savings in calendar year 11, in fiscal year 10-11 we would get 60% of that, and that's the 1.2 million, and then it would grow the next year to $2 million because we'd get the benefit of a full year's worth of savings.
But you figured that on something. What'd you figure it on?
We figured
the increase in copays. You have to have a number there.
Again,
right.
we started with the target of $2 million without a specific shape. And
oh, okay. So just generally,
there are many ways to get there.
Get there. Okay.
Yeah, and we've established that as a target. Okay.
Well, it's not okay.
No, none of this is okay. So, with that, we would recommend a positive certification that we will meet our financial obligations, but it's going to take a lot of work, and those are the next two bullets, which are authorized, as you essentially already have, the initiation and maximization of all level 1 items, and, again, identification of new items as possible. We haven't given up and said we're standing pat, this is all. As you can tell, we're continuing to generate ideas for new revenues in terms of rebates, what have you, and cost savings issues. And to continue with the negotiation and mediation process with the idea that we need to be adaptable to new information as it comes along and adaptable as we're able to increase that number there. I would turn that back over to you for any questions and also ask for your approval of the second interim.
Any questions or comments?
Is it getting worse? Can it get? I mean, it can't get worse.
Well, let's see. As I may have mentioned earlier, if you look at the history of the last 2 years, every time we got a budget update, it was worse. There are starting to be some positive signs at the state level with regard to tax revenues and jobs. We'd like to think that that's the beginning of a turnaround. I think the State Controller's Office is beginning to see some signs, but those signs need to play out over an extended period of time because the state still has its $20 billion gap to deal with, and they're not going to be able to grow themselves out of it.
And for the last 10 years, they've been always taking that out of the education budget.
Among others, but as you can see, it's been disproportionate lately.
Yeah.
So back to your question, is it getting better? I don't think we can bet on when it will get better. We need to see it get better because recent history is that it is not.
Right.
We're very hopeful that there's no additional harm to K-12 education in the May revise, but that's the next major signal that we'll get.
Okay, thank you.
No further comments or questions? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This one at the back. We've seen it before.
This is the chart we showed on January 28th. Right.
We're going to end this year with 23.4, correct?
If our forecasts are good.
Okay. But in this year 2010-11, we're going to spend all but 4.8 of that reserve? Is that the way I should read this?
That's the way you should read this. This is the do-nothing scenario, remember.
So So if we did nothing, now you mean do nothing, you mean don't even do level 1?
Correct.
Okay, so if we do level 1, what are we at right now on level 1?
The tally sheet we were looking
Yeah,
at before,
what was the
if we were to
total?
achieve that, it was just under $6 million.
So if we do level 1, then at the end of 2010, we'll be at 29.4. Correct?
You'd be looking at this year right here, you'd be looking at
No.
10.8.
Oh, okay.
This is the end of this fiscal year.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Well, so in other words, these savings, where are we going to be at the end of 2010? This says 23.4 if we don't do anything, but some of the things we're doing right now already will impact that ending balance. Correct?
The level 1 items of SELPA and reducing tutorials would support the 23.4 plus 600,000 or 700,000, if you remember.
So we're talking about 24.
Right.
Probably ending balance of 24. And then if we don't do anything, we will, in the following year, we will spend all but 4.8 million of that. If we, well, some of that would carry over, though, wouldn't that, level 1?
Right.
Okay. So.
But we have to remember the easy way to get at this is to remember what our structural, what the negative number is at the bottom. So you just subtract that number plus the 2 million of reserves that's already in the revenue number,
right,
and that's how you get to the 4.8.
Okay. So then the following year, I mean, if we didn't do anything, the following year we'd be in deep trouble.
If you're referring to that, yeah.
Yeah.
We're already in deep trouble here because we haven't balanced those bars, as you remember.
Right.
That's our underlying objective to this whole thing.
Is to spend the same amount that we receive.
Yeah, and we're fortunate in that we have reserves that allow us to do that in a gradual sense, although that sense is accelerating, as you know, based upon our proposed actions at this time.
Any additional questions or comments? Could I have a motion and second to approve, let's see. Yeah, approve the fiscal year 2009-2010 second interim certification of fiscal solvency in compliance with Ed Code sections 42-130 and 42-131.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Please vote. Item 4, public hearing to receive public comment on the Grossmont Union High School District's intent to enter into an energy service contract pursuant to Government Code Chapter 3.2, Sections 4217.10 to 4217.18. I declare the hearing open. Are there any speakers that wish to speak to this issue? Hearing none, I declare the hearing closed. Number 5, ratification and approval of agreement with Chevron Energy Solutions Company, approval of the not-to-exceed amounts set forth above, and authorization for superintendent or designee to execute the same. Could I have a motion and second to discuss and approve?
So moved.
Good job.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question, Scott, on this one. Are we just entering into an agreement with Chevron Energy Solutions, or are there subsidiaries underneath them that we'd be working with?
It's actually Chevron, and we have a relationship right now with them. You may recall.
At Santana?
Yes.
Yeah.
You've actually passed one of these in the past. It's time to freshen up this relationship with them.
Okay.
The thing I think is worth noting is that this is not an exclusive relationship. We can still use other energy contract providers, and in fact may do that as we compete some projects that come down the pike, so that we're not just solely using Chevron.
Okay, that's
this
what
provides
I'm curving.
a vehicle for us to use this as an option.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Please vote. Item 6, approval and adoption of first reading of Board Policy 5030, Wellness Policy, and option to waive the second reading. Could I have a motion and second to discuss and approve?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, discussion.
Yes. I was handed this. There you go. You want me to go ahead and read it?
Yeah, I think what we need to do is, someone would need to propose an amendment to the
right,
writing.
so I need to do that.
Yeah.
I'd like to propose an amendment to the policy, and this is, you know what?
On page 2.
I don't have the page that that's on.
It's
page
page
2,
two.
thank you, of the policy. And this is the revised policy from CSBA. Correct. The board believes, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraph down. The board believes that food and beverages available to students at district schools should support the health curriculum and promote optimal health. Nutritional standards adopted by the district for all foods and beverages sold to students, and then the amended language would be for the period from a half an hour before to a half an hour after the school day, including foods and beverages provided through the district's food service program, student stores, vending machines, or fundraisers, shall meet or exceed state and federal nutritional standards. While desirable, and this is, again, language added, while desirable, these guidelines do not apply to foods provided outside this time period. That makes sense? Yep.
How do we amend?
She proposed an
I
amendment.
proposed
You
the
made
amendment.
the motion. You accept the amendment.
I do.
I'm so glad. That makes it so easy. Okay. So are we still discussing then?
Well, we are now discussing the motion as amended.
As amended, okay. I think this is an excellent amendment. In fact, I'm going to take it to our CSBA delegate assembly. We just had a discussion with the wellness people from CSBA and from the county talking about this, so I think it's something that the other boards could look at as well. So I think it's some good added verbiage in there. Very good.
It's my understanding that the guidelines include chocolate. Is that correct?
No. Well, for women only.
If I may, I'd like to thank President Shield for pointing out the weakness in the previous language that we had proposed and was in your original board packet. And I think, as you said, that clarification of the time limitations having to do with the nutritional standards is very valuable, because we don't mean to impose these things 24 hours a day at the school site.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can have hot dogs at football games?
Right. Yes, you may.
Yes. So that gives it clarity. So I think that's good, because that was one of the concerns at the delegate meeting as well. So, very good. Thank you, Mr. Shield.
Any further discussion? Please vote. Item 2, ratification of contract amendment, reduction of superintendent's compensation in accordance with Government Code 53262. Could I have a motion and second to discuss and approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. I would like to thank the superintendent for making this sacrifice and setting an example for the entire staff of our district in this regard. Any other discussion? Please vote. Item D, Educational Services, adoption of Resolution 2010-49 endorsing Library Media Month. Could I have a motion and second to discuss and approve?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, discussion.
I still like old-fashioned books.
So
I like libraries, and most librarians.
Very interested in the VLLC is a collaborative website of the district libraries that organizes research, learning, and reading resources for students, teachers, and staff. Is that already up on our website?
Yes.
Very good. When did that go live? Oh, it did. Very good. Very good. Well, we appreciate our librarians. Thank you. Especially the one in the back, right?
any further discussion? Please vote. Moving on to item 9, the consolidated agenda. The consolidated motion expedites board action on all agenda items which are not held for discussion. Items not held will be approved as written as part of the consolidated agenda. Items that are held are excluded from the consolidated agenda and will be acted on individually. Do any board members have any items to be pulled from the consolidated agenda?
9A4.
9A4. Any others?
I know all about that one.
Okay, do you have one to be pulled?
Well, I just want to take a minute to thank Dr. Lewis for answering some of my questions so I didn't have to pull all of the educate. No, I'm kidding. Tonight, so I appreciate that. And that I could get them to you in a timely fashion, not put you in the spot. So thank you for your support there. Nope, I have none.
Okay, could I have a motion to discuss and approve all items in the consolidated agenda except item 9A4?
So moved.
So moved. Oh, second?
Discussion. Please vote.
That's one that I talked to Mike about.
On that for a second. Item 9A4. Ratification and approval of Master Contract A-514R7 with Island View Academy to provide special education services for the school year 2009-2010 and authorization for superintendent or designee to execute the same. Could I have a motion to discuss and approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Second.
The only reason I pulled this is that it's part of the $6 million, is it not, that we spend, and I'm not, I don't get me wrong, I think we have to treat our special ed kids well, but if there's any way, and I know you've been working on this, that we can somehow do some of these things here that would not cost $24,000 for one student. I mean, we're spending, I don't know, what is it per student now? 8,000, 7,000, ADA, something like that. And this does impact the general fund, I'm pretty sure. So I'm just highlighting that.
Any further discussion?
Well, I just was telling Mr. Hoy that was one of the ones I pulled with Mike, and we had a good conversation about that. Mine was more along the lines that in the law, is there any clause for relief during economic hardship? And he confirmed that they wish there was an opportunity to. Yeah.
Actually,
but
I questioned this one this morning. And these are lockdown facilities. And in the state of California, I'm told, we're not allowed to have lockdown facilities of this nature for juveniles. So we are, we're looking at different types of MPS placements. But in this type of case, I guess how many years ago did the state eliminated that? So it does create a real hardship, and we have these facilities in Texas, Colorado and Utah, I believe, are the three states that house the students.
Is this an unfunded mandate?
Of course it is.
I mean, that's, we're just getting the regular, did we get any extra at all?
Actually, on these assignments, they're not even made by us. They are made by county mental health. And county mental health decides this young person needs this assignment in a lockdown facility, and we're told. So I think there's some legislative issues that we have to deal with in the state of California. Among many, yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Please vote. Okay, let's see. Board reports. Do any board members have any items that they would like to report here in public? During open session, I should say. Oh, pardon me. It's been a long day. Member Kelly.
President Shield, my compliments to you for being a great board president. You're a great leader of this board, and you conduct a great meeting, and under not always ideal conditions. This is a tough year, and we have tough issues, not all of our making, that is the hand you've been dealt, and we've been dealt, but you're doing a beautiful job leading this board. I just want to compliment you. Also this week, or last week rather, we all received the tragic news of Sherry Hayman's passing, and I think something needs to be said about her. Sorry, just 1 second. Those who know her and knew she was a kind, sweet, caring, gentle, humble lady. And I feel so. I feel especially bad for Steve. That's it.
Thank you. Dr. Woods.
I also want to compliment you for the way you have led this board. I want to compliment Ms. Schreiber for her statements concerning Helix and our passion to support charter schools. I'm also very angry that both Washington and Sacramento have diverted funds that really were meant for education just for their massive spending policies and stimulus packages and bailouts. And it frustrates me that we're owed some $90 million in matching funds for the construction we did that's not being provided to us, which hinders us from carrying out the promises and the goals of our district, and that tens of millions of other dollars have been taken from the salaries of our teachers who are working so hard, and we have exemplary teachers in every school. And it's tearing me apart to see what we're doing. And unless there's some drastic changes in Sacramento, I can't see how any district is going to be able to meet their budgets. And what this is going to do to test scores in this generation of students is going to be devastating. We all need to get more involved with the higher-ups in Sacramento.
Thank you. Member Schreiber?
Well, I guess I'll ditto the comments. It's always tough to handle a crowd like this, and I think you did a very good job. Thank you, President Shield. I did have the opportunity to attend Sherry Hayman's memorial service, and I walked away just it was, I think Mike was there, Linda, we had quite a few people there that were supporting Steve at this time. And when we went to the Academic League annual recognition dinner, which was awesome, by the way, it was a great job. And I just had no idea at that time when Steve didn't show up that he was with his ailing wife. I didn't realize that she was ailing at that point. And then you always feel like you wish you would have sent a card or made a phone call or something. She, like Jim said, just a wonderful, wonderful woman. And like I expressed to Steve in an email when I first got the notice, you just see them as being inseparable. And so the hard part is going to be for Steve and Wendy and Wade to get through this time. But they have such great memories, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful send-off for Sherry. It was awesome. To change the chamber gala was really fun, and it was really nice to see Steve Devon win his recognition. I think it was the one that you had won the previous year, and Deanna Weeks and Ernie Ewan and just a bunch of the community collaboratives that we work with here in Grossmont. So it was really nice to see that beautiful event. I did get stood up by my superintendent. But other than that, I had a great. I was at a table with these engineer type people that were, I mean, oh my gosh, they were great though. They were a lot of fun. So it was a great event. It was very nice to be there and represent the Grossmont district. Also, it was. Thank you, Tracy, so much for the last minute email for Granite Hills WASC. It's something I always promised Georgette that I would do and be a part of, and so it's always great to get out to the WASC meetings, and I think they got a really good report, and great. It was a great committee that came down to do that too. So it was a good turnout, and so that was nice. I really hope to get out to the school sites before too long. It's great when we have the ribbon cutting ceremonies going on, and the science buildings are going to be great, and so I look forward to that. I will say that while it's in difficult times that we have, and there's a lot of things that we still need to discuss with our staff and teachers and classifieds, it is reassuring to know that we're not issuing pink slips. And so whether you agree or disagree with all the other stuff that's going on, I do commend the staff, Scott, Bob, Steve, for your efforts. I mean, everything to that's a big deal, and not to issue them preemptively and then have to, renege on them or go through all of that. And so thank you for saving us that much.
Everybody's complimenting you, and you probably deserve it. But if I do it, then your head's going to be bigger than anybody's head, so you did okay. Hey, I am not done yet.
He's just warming up. Don't forget.
I did go to Sherry Hayman's memorial service, and I really came out of there with, that's a love story. And Steve, anybody who was there, Steve was a trooper. And we're going to really miss Sherry. As far as things I have done, the superintendent's academic league dinner was outstanding. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. We had about 350 people there, and parents, and it was a very positive experience. Then a couple Saturdays ago, I went to the God Arts program at Cuyamaca, and planned to go for about an hour, but I took my granddaughters, and one granddaughter loved it, and we made a watercolor, my first one, and we did I don't know what it's called, a block print or something. We stayed until noon, and the only reason was that I had to go home because I had to get a nap. And she didn't need one, I did. And then I went last night to see Thoroughly Modern Millie at Valhalla. You got to go see that. Kirsten Gerard is an outstanding drama teacher, and those kids were fabulous. 2 hours, smile on your face all the time, laughter. If you don't get out to see some of these things that these kids do, you're losing something. It is really phenomenal how good these kids are. Anyway, oh, by the way, did I tell you did okay tonight? Your turn.
Thank you.
I thought you were going to tell the story about the question that you asked the academic lead about what's the study of the eye.
I thought it was a good question. I asked it two different ways. I said, what is the study, or what do we call a person? No, what is it? What was the study of what is a person called that studies diseases of the eye? And the kid said, ophthalmologist, which is correct. And then I said, what do we call a person who? You said no. What do we call the person who does diseases of the eye? Which is a psychologist, right, or a psychiatrist. Anyway, I didn't think it was that funny, but I didn't mind. The kids put up with people that are over 60.
Well, just say he has been, yeah. I have seen him be a conductor of an all school band, and was San Diego State under your conduction also? I mean, all that, and then on the academic lead, you are truly Mr. Wonderful, truly. Richie. We call him Richie now. Okay, sorry.
Don't start, Linda.
Richie.
Do any board members have any items for future board meetings?
Okay. I think the elephant in the room right now is that CST testing thing. You're going to get us the information. Is that coming back to the board, or we're just going to disseminate it to them? We're done, Mike?
I think we're done. We will give you the information tomorrow, and you can review it if you have questions or concerns. But the reality is we have a pretty solid opinion from our attorneys that says that teachers have the right to get a mark. We set some very broad parameters around it. But in the end, if we come in and say, well, you know something, we're not going to allow teachers to use the California Standards test individually. We can't set a policy to do it. Then where are we going to set that policy? Because I know when I was a teacher, I had my own extra credit, my own guidelines, and I think we go down a very slippery slope when we start trying to circumscribe that particular issue. I understand the concerns that this individual set of parents have. I just think that on the flip side, we get into very murky waters when we try to eliminate one thing or another thing in terms of a teacher's right to give a mark.
And that's been explained to them. They just aren't accepting it. Okay.
Okay, but I want to go on record again publicly. I'm opposed to using that CST. I mean, but I understand where we are. The problem I have is that I can say that from here, but the policy isn't my beliefs. The problem I have is, and I am hearing this, that we need to maintain neutrality on this issue.
That's correct.
That we can't, with a wink and a nod by administrators, encourage it. It's up to the teachers.
And we're meeting with the principals next week to review that with them. And we have other examples of this type of practice. It's not an unusual practice for advanced placement teachers to change the student's grade based on whether they got a 5, 4, or 3. And I'm sure, you know, I can think of some other examples that go with it, but Board Member Hoy is right. It's the teacher's authority. We cannot have a principal, a PLC, or anybody else set a policy that everybody has to follow. Then we go illegal the other way. And we will reiterate that to the principals.
One more thing. And you guys probably aren't going to like me. I'd like to put on the agenda for next month that a committee be formed to name the high school in Alpine. Okay.
Any other items?
Superintendent, my concern is that now with the funding shortages, the tremendous class sizes, the lack of resources, there's going to be a temptation of grade inflation again. And that's part of my concern, is that anything that causes people to raise grades to cover up the fact that we're not able to teach as well in this situation, if there's things we can do to discourage that, I think that would be important.
I agree. I've made the comment before, and I'll make it again. In my travels through this district, there is no question in my mind that we have an extraordinary teaching staff.
Yes, right.
And I think I raised that issue with the board earlier today. And I think I just have total faith in the professionalism, the skill, the passion of the teachers of the school district, even in the most difficult of situations that they're under.
Right.
So I think, you know, this is a storm. School districts have had storms before. This may be one of the greater ones we'll ever have. But I think if anything will carry us through this storm, it is the skill and the teachers that we have. So I believe that would not be my concern.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for that. And I think we need to also say that we have exemplary teachers in every school, not just in one school.
Okay, any other comments? Let's see. The next meeting will be on Thursday, April 15th, here. Meeting adjourned.
Taxes. Tax day.